Yeah, she's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Start out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline calling in, so they have a female veteran off her medication. She's at work to Safe Haven. Detecting 12, check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2-1 Charlie, get shot.
Officer still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Thanks. Anyone else close, might just see result, let me know. First number. 10-4.
2-1 Charlie, get shot.
Officer still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Anyone else close, might just see result, let me know. 10-5. 33.
3-3. You want to supervisor on the lab and case report with the request attached.
1830.
Yeah, possible here in Wilson.
First number. 10-4. Miss where, Shanna? 3746. I'm sorry, we're not copying you. Okay, try that one more time.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's early. I know it is. I know it's early.
Good morning.
But this morning, hold on 1 second. Running a little slow here. There we go. It's morning. We're early in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's not morning for Rosie.
No,
It's midday.
it's
Early
not
after
midday.
early after early afternoon.
No,
No,
it's
what is
it's it's just afternoon. It's
oh
like 3. Yeah, yeah.
it's what time?
It's almost 3 p.m.
Oh, well there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's just morning. Too early. I know. I know. But I've been up all night. Sleep schedule is still all messed up from being sick. For some reason, it's like I'm living a third shift life or something. But uh, living that third shift life, I got to see Ethan Chapin's mother. She finally did an interview with the Washington State Fox station. And it's just a little clip of it. It's not the whole thing, but she had something very interesting to say because if you haven't seen it yet, she basically, because from the very beginning, they always said, we don't want any part of it. We're going to do our thing. They've been doing, she wrote a book. They've been doing like fundraising and stuff, scholarships, things like that. So they've been really like, but they just been real low key. They weren't even interested in going to the court hearings. But in the interview last night that they showed a clip of, more of it'll be coming soon. So if it drops this morning, we'll definitely go to it, and I'll play it for you guys too. But she basically says like, who else is going to represent Ethan? At the court hearings and stuff, and so I really think they're going to go. She said it was a possibility, but when you hear her say, who else is going to represent Ethan, you kind of already know that uh, they're probably going to be, maybe not all of them, because it's got to be kind of expensive, but maybe some of them, and so uh, I thought that was very interesting because they were the one family that, you had um, Xana's dad. He did a little bit, not very much, in the very beginning. Nothing after these anniversaries and such, just in the very beginning. Xana's mom was going on panels a lot, stuff like that back in the early, very beginning. And then the Gonzalez family's always been coming out and really, they're on, court TV, News Nation, local news. They're always talking. And but you never really heard very much from Ethan's family. So I thought it was, oh, you just feel for him, and I can imagine, I would kind of want to. I don't know. It's like a mixed bag, You would want your time to grieve, but at the same time, you'd want to speak up too to make sure that justice and truth is happening as well. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I guess, how do you really know until you're in that position?
Yeah, of course. And I also think with, a lot of the incel theories and stuff that people do put out, Ethan is the first one to be forgotten about sometimes, just because he doesn't fit that narrative all the
Hmm.
time. So I think that it is actually really important as well that that we always take the time to remember Ethan too, because I think he's often forgotten, unfortunately.
Hmm. Yeah, you really don't see many people talking about Ethan that much usually. It always has something to do with the girls. Uh, But it was kind of interesting though. We're gonna speaking of tonight it's approximately 7 Central. It's still gonna be, it's not set in stone, but we're gonna be having special guest Yoli Yo Law is gonna be joining us tonight. We're going to have Kathy's Indie Zone podcast joining us tonight. If you guys know Commercial Zone, she'll be on the show tonight. Both Yoli and Kathy have dug into that 175-page transcript of the redacted hearing. And so we're going to be having a show tonight, and we're going to be reading every page. And we're also going to be hearing from two individuals that are heavily dedicated and invested in the Idaho 4 case. And I can't wait to have them on tonight. So it was kind of interesting because in that, and thank you, Mama. Hold on one second. Contribution call out. And thank you all for being here. Mama of 5, YouTube membership. Thank you so much. And let me throw this up there for you. And definitely go sub to Rosie as well over at her channel. Now, it was kind of interesting because, I'm going to tell you right now, and I've tried to, when it comes to these 175 pages, right, of the redacted court hearing from January 23rd earlier, almost a month ago. When it comes to these, most of it is going to be stuff that has already been in these court papers since, June, July of 2023. But this is what I want everybody to know, because I know there's a lot of papers. Maybe you haven't read them. That's one of the reasons we're going to kind of read through them tonight. You can take your time, split it up, whatever. But you're going to get the commentary behind it. And it's going to be very important when it comes to what these papers are, because you can read papers all the time. But when there's discussion about what's being said, especially from all of us, because I know me, Yoli, and Kathy all kind of came together at the same time when this case first happened, and we've all kind of been invested and have the knowledge from the very beginning. So I think it's going to be very beneficial for the community. But when it comes to these, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't know, okay? And the stuff that we didn't know is huge. Some of the stuff, you're just going to be like, what? Like even the vacuum, like the person that committed the crime is going to be carrying a frickin' when I made up the Bissell backpack, it was a joke back in 2023. Okay, it was a joke. I wasn't being serious about it, because I was like, there was all this talk about the latent footprint, right, and how it was cleaned up and how they didn't see it until they sprayed luminol. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, he got a Bissell backpack on a Ghostbuster outfit? Going in there, go right, a Ghostbuster outfit with a backpack, and he takes that hose and he's like, shoo, and cleans up his footprints as he leaves the scene of the crime. It was a damn joke. Now it's crazy because in these papers, one of the statements is that he was carrying a vacuum. Like, you can't. I don't know. It's crazy. It's just crazy. But one of the weirdest things and one of the most interesting things, and this is why I'm going to kind of bring up the DNA dirty glove again here in the beginning of the show, is because it's something that we noticed all the way back then. You can, I mean, it's so obvious when you watch the video of what takes place. It's like, wow. And then you take some other video that was captured of these same individuals that were doing the investigating, documenting the photos of the items, of the blood, of the crime scene. And then they're using those same tools and equipment. And then had to have been, I mean, come on, if you're documenting the crime scene with photography as well, you're going to be touching the items. First, you're going to take photos of the First, you're going to take photos of the items where the items are at or the people. After you take all of the photos you need to take, then you're going to pick up the items and put it, have rulers next to it and open up stuff. Maybe somebody that had opened up the button snap to see if there was any kind of blood inside of it and took a photo. This is what I'm trying to say when it comes to these DNA dirty gloves. And when you see in these papers where they're talking about the DNA, right? And they say the DNA from the knife sheath was obviously the one thing that we thought was a very strong piece of evidence in this case. So it was the particular piece that we pursued as a potential avenue of identifying a suspect. I've said it from the beginning, and people made fun of me in the beginning. I've told you from the beginning. All they did was take this tip. They took this tip and they ran with it. They ran with it. Just the tip. Now, the question was, is it to your understanding that the FBI's work said that it was Brian Koberger's DNA on the sheet? And the answer was, that is not my understanding. The next question was, what is your understanding? The answer to that was, my understanding is that the FBI concluded that Brian Koberger was a possible source of DNA that we should look into, period. They did not, to my knowledge, at any point say Brian Koberger's DNA is on the knife sheath. That was never conveyed to me.
Wow.
What does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? They just went off a tip. They just went off a tip. We had a show, the last show that we did for Idaho 4. We went through the statement from December 29th, 2022, the day before Brian Koberger was arrested. And they were still telling you that they didn't have a suspect, and they were still telling you that they were looking for a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Now, maybe they had his name because, of course, they came across his name at the end of November when there was officers that showed up, one from Washington, one from Idaho, both the same day. Now, the interesting thing about those times that they stopped was that one of them noted that he had Pennsylvania plates and another one noted that he had Washington state plates. I don't know how that happens when one officer doesn't know what real plates were on the vehicle. So they had his name from that. They had his name from the neighbor that was 1,200 footsteps away. Remember? The guy that hit him up early on and then jetted to another country, scot-free. They also had somebody else, Eric. Remember Eric? The guy that dropped the girls off. Remember, in early December, Eric was out there looking for white Hyundai Elantras and said that that was one of them that he had listed down because he was out there trying to find the people who committed this crime. I don't know. The dude's a little weird and always seemed off to me when it comes to maybe being a potential suspect, but that's just me. So it's kind of interesting when you hear just the tip. Now, this is why I say the DNA dirty gloves is so important. Of course, the DNA dirty gloves are not going to be introduced in this part of the court hearings in this process. What they tried to do is they tried to first try to get the DNA IgG tossed because of procedures. She was basically telling the people, look, they did a roundabout that they weren't supposed to do, which means that it wasn't legal, and so it should be tossed. She had to do it. But when it comes to trial, that's where this information, I feel, and have always felt, is going to be the most key. Because I watched the OJ trial. I watched how they hammered down on the contamination of evidence, how they hammered down on somebody that was picking up items from the crime scene with contamination involved, how they hammered some of the lead investigators on how they transferred evidence which could allow contamination because it wasn't done properly. That's why, when it came to the glove, that's why the glove was the tip of the iceberg. Because the glove, after hearing all of the mountain of the way that it was not handled properly and how there was contamination involved, discredited everything else, and that glove was the icing on top of the cake. When you look at this DNA dirty glove and you're beginning to see how this DNA IgG just doesn't make sense, this is where that DNA dirty glove will come in. Because if you can show that there was contamination at a crime scene, and you're talking about the DNA and IgG evidence that you're talking about right now, I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of people out there that are thinking this is a slam dunk. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here looking at this, and it's taken me back to the day that I watched the OJ trial, and I'm like, they had way more on OJ, and look what happened. So it's very interesting what we're going to hear later tonight when it comes to a lot of this stuff. I think it's going to shock a lot of people if you haven't read it. But I'm going to show you guys some things, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, just little bits here and there, just to give you an idea. It's very dangerous. And honestly, when it comes to the DP, I don't know. They must, if they don't have something crazy when it comes to evidence, I feel so bad for these families, because I don't know how they're going to get justice for their loved ones. And Yoli, she wrote a message last night to share here, and she says, "Oh my God, this BK case is a mess. There is the transcript of the closed hearing. There are exhibits to the motions to suppress that are sealed, yet the judge talks about those exhibits in his written orders. The best I can make out is, quote, yes, the LE and lab techs may have been sloppy, but that doesn't give rise to a Franks hearing or a granting of a motion to suppress. The overreaching and overbroad nature of the search warrants for Apple, Google, was because of the FBI investigating Koberger for federal stalking. A jury has to hear everything. Bits and pieces put out, and keeping certain things sealed will cause and has caused so much speculation. And at this point, both sides, prosecutor and defense attorneys, are responsible. either keep everything sealed or make everything public. This is just BS. The DNA stuff is complicated. Contamination of the scene is one of the best evidence that could be put forth. Again, the DNA dirty gloves will be key. So LE was sloppy. AT can cross-examine LE, but the I don't remember and the I don't know wasn't good enough for Judge Hippler to say that Payne and Mowry were not credible. He found them credible. It's because LE always say that I can't remember, I don't know, and they get away with it because counsel questioning them doesn't push. What do you mean you don't know? Haven't you been doing this job for so many years? And she brings up a lot of great points. A lot of great points.
Those are great points.
And I know she's getting,
And I think,
you know, oh, sorry.
No, I just I wanted to just follow from her there as well about the contamination and the the dirty glove. That's the only contamination or potential contamination that we actually know of. I mean, it's likely if that's how they were behaving outside of the scene that there was more than enough sloppy behavior inside. That's just what we were lucky enough to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we already know, because we read the book from President Green. We already know that before law enforcement showed up, they were sending out crisis teams. They already had a crisis management center set up at the university. They were sending out counselors to all the different frats and sororities, crisis teams, to go talk to all the students. We've heard stories from the very beginning about how students were there before. I mean, hell, a friend of one of the people that lived at the house is the one that called 911. That tells you right there that there was already other people there, right? So,
yeah. Sorry, no, I was just saying, and also like it was more than one person who made the 911 call, so it's forensically a disaster if you think about how many people were there. It's not just one person who made the call.
Mm-hmm. You had Kaylee, Christy Consalvis was even saying they were hearing something shortly after 1 p.m. about something, and they thought that Kaylee got, pew-pewed. That's what they were first hearing, was that Kaylee got pew-pewed, and a family member was going down there to the house to see what was going on. There was so many people. Contamination, that will come out in trial. You're right. That will come out in trial. But contamination, there's already contamination that took place when these two people showed up. One of the people is also part of the team that was doing the Washington State search at the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this right here shows incompetence all over the place. All over the place. Contribution call out Kib Kitty, member for 20 months. I know it's longer than that. Stupid YouTube, but thank you for all your hard work live on that. Thank you so much, Kib Kitty. Thank you for the kind words. Tammy Jeffrey Davis, member for 7 months. Holy hell. It just goes quick though, don't it?
Yeah.
It goes quick. Hold on one second. Let me throw this up for y'all too. But yeah, the contamination is crazy, and so when you're looking at this, all the stuff that, especially these 175, I can't wait to read them out with you guys. I know it's kind of a weird time. If you're able to, please do. I know it's kind of a weird time for you.
I'm tempted.
I mean seriously.
Excited.
No, seriously. I mean, because this. I mean, you've been there from the beginning too. Like this is this is some major stuff.
Yeah.
And still, it's crazy to me that still. Good morning, Fly Girl. It's still crazy that it's not even being discussed at show. I wanted to kind of show you all some things, um, just to kind of cover it again real quick. So this is the video. First, I'm going to show you some photos here. Let me see here. Oh, whoops. Hold on one second. Let's see here. Is it? I gotta move our. Doesn't that kind of look like a? That's like a blast from the past, right? You remember that, Rosie, from way back in the day?
Oh yeah.
You remember
I
that
do.
guy?
I remember.
Yeah.
It's
That was
creepy.
December of 22 when this gentleman popped up on the scene. December of 22. And what's the best way to exclude your DNA, people? Show up at the crime scene as a first responder, right? I think I made a short about that a long time ago. What's the best way to exclude your DNA from a crime scene? Show up as a first responder.
That's the perfect way to do it. It really is.
It is, isn't it? And if you look at when we were going through the Sigma Chi protocols out there for when it comes to these kind of events taking place, they have their own team that's set up to go out there and have crisis management. We went through those in uncovering the cover. But I'm going to show you guys these photos real quick, okay? So I want you guys here, let me shrink it down. I want you guys to see this. All right. You see this person right here? You see that person right there? Okay. You see what's in their hand? Right? Camera. You see the hairstyle, you see the ponytail, right? You see the little line separating the shorter buzz cut from the longer ponytail, Right? You got the strap for the camera. It doesn't matter if you're wearing different gloves because it's the equipment you guys need to pay attention to, okay? The equipment. Pay attention to the equipment and everything else that was in her pocket before she went in. And we're going to show you that in a second. But again, ponytail, see the hair, you got the equipment. All right. Yep. There's a better shot of the hair. Okay. Now I'm going to show you this video. Okay. Now that you've established who's in there taking photos, there's video. And it's on that. Here's the link if you want to see the video of it. I'm going to show you the drone now, but here's the link. And this was from like January of 24 or something when I finally put this together because I figured, hey, maybe back then people will notice this because it's very key when it comes regard any trial. It could be anybody's name. This could be in Wyoming. What's up, Audrey? Check your Twitter, Audrey. This could be anybody. This could be in Wyoming. This could be in Florida. Okay. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what case. It doesn't matter what kind of evidence, because when you have the people that are in there taking photos of the crime scene, documenting the crime scene, potentially picking up items from the crime scene to further document and photograph items from the crime scene. This is very important when it comes to the DNA that we are talking about right now. when it comes to this case. So now that you got that picture of who this is, okay? You got the picture of who this is, the equipment that's being used, right? You got that in your head, okay? All right, now we're going to check out this video. Where'd it go? All right. Now, this is a drone video. When they showed up at the crime scene, people are showing up, news crews are pulling in. Okay. Now, law enforcement was also photographed and videoed not having booties, personal protective equipment, showing up, just walking in, regular shoes. Look at all the cars coming in and out, coming in and out. Look who shows up. They just showed up. It's important that I show you that. They just pulled up. Oh, just wait. Wait. You'll see the contamination. Now remember, equipment, hairstyle, because both of these ladies are in there. You remember the people that leaned over, looked down the handrail? Huh? The quote handrail, looked down the stairs where Bethany was, her room was at. That lady with the shorter hair, the brown shorter hair on the right, she was the one that looked down the stairs. The lady with the ponytail going straight up, just wait till you see what that lady. Okay, you see that blue glove down there, right? Let me pause it real quick and let me go back just a skosh. Now look, there's a blue glove right next to the right foot or the left foot of the lady on the right. Okay, you can see it. Now I'll give you a zoomed photo of it and we'll go back to this video in a second. Here is the zoomed photo. Okay, you see the glove that's laying on the ground. Okay, that's what you want to focus on. Now again, you just saw these people pull it up. They just got there. You see the hairstyle? Remember the line in the hair, the ponytail that's going up? That's the lady right there. Pay attention to her. Pay attention to that glove as we watch this video. You see the glove right there? She already stepped on it a couple times. She just pointed out the glove to the lady. Watch, see? She knows it's on the ground. She sees it. Oh, she points it out real quick. Hold on. Points out the glove to the lady. Hey, there's a glove there. That guy can hear. Pay attention to that guy's head when she goes to pick it up. Hey, there's a glove down there. I stepped on it again. Hey, there's a glove. Hey, there's a glove. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. Here, let me throw it in this bag and let me go ahead and get some more clean gloves with the dirty glove. And I'm going to put those in my pocket. Look around. And he turned his head conveniently. You can see that again. She don't even throw those gloves away. Glove is on the ground. Gets stepped on a few times. What's on the ground? Who knows what's on the ground? Who knows where their shoes have been? Hey, there's a glove. Step on it again. Hey, there's a glove. Hey, there's a glove. All right, throw it away. I'm going to get some new clean gloves. And I'm going to stick some in my pocket. Now, I still have those dirty gloves on, don't I? Now look what I do. It's no wonder Ann Taylor was requesting training records from people, right? Remember that?
Right.
Yeah. Look at this. I'm going to open up my gear with all my equipment. And I'm going to touch everything and watch. I'm going to let this play because the other video I only showed just a small portion of it. But I'm just going to let this one play and you'll see all the equipment that this person touches. So when it comes to gloves that you throw away when you go inside, guess what? It's already all over your equipment because you already touched it. Look, you see the strap with the camera that she just touched? Gloves all over it.
Yeah.
Yep, gloves all over it. Look at this. I'm doing this with my camera. Oh, just wait. I'm going to show you. Look, you're going to see all the equipment. Look at this. Never changed her gloves. Never changed her gloves. And these are the people. Look, I'm going to grab more stuff. I'm going to grab even more stuff. And what am I going to be using the most, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to be using my camera the most, right? Look at how much I'm touching my camera, wiping it all over the camera. Not even concerned that I picked up a glove off the ground that was stepped on multiple times and then grabbed a bunch of clean ones.
Yeah. I don't
Now
think
they're-
I've ever seen anything like it. Really?
Huh?
No, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. It's still surprising to watch after all this time.
It is, and now they closed it up because they're getting ready to take it inside. All those gloves that she grabbed, the clean ones, are in her pocket. Touched all that, all the equipment, did all of this with the camera. I'm gonna play it again. And these are the people that, let's go back here. These are the people that just showed up. And these were the people that were in charge of documenting the crime scene. And when you, listen, I don't know if Koberger did it or not. I don't know because I wasn't there. But what I do know is when you see the minimal that you see, the questions that you're asking yourself when it comes to the evidence in this case, and you see this kind of contamination, this is why it brings me back and always has brought me back, because this came out just a few weeks after the crime. Like, it was finally put out to the public just a couple weeks after the crime. This has been out. This is what takes you to the OJ case. Because if you're seeing this kind of contamination that is going in there and documenting the evidence, you have to question you could have like I said, look at how much they had on OJ. Contamination. The fact that OJ's blood was in the trunk of a vehicle for a day. OJ's blood was brought to another crime scene from a lead investigator. Contamination. When you're talking about contamination, the socks that had OJ's blood, or the victim's blood on OJ's socks and his shoes, were carried out on a binder from a lead investigator and put in their back seat. They weren't even in a bag. When you're talking about contamination, it doesn't matter what else you have, because when you're looking at something as simple as this right here, this is why it's important that you always approach the crime scene with keeping the evidence unblemished, no contamination whatsoever possible, because it's so important to make sure that these victims and families get justice. And this right here was not approached that way before they even walked in the door. They were getting their things together, and that's where it started. So you have to question everything else after this point. You have to. It's horrible. And to see her touching that camera like that. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, I wonder if it's to do, like, do you think that they didn't realize they could be seen, or did they just not think that through? I don't think they thought it.
I don't even think they could think that through. Look at this nonchalant. Yeah. You've got 4 people in there that were brutally attacked. I don't even think they thought about it. I don't think they could even think that far ahead, Rosie. Because if you're showing up, this is day, my lord. If this was a class test experiment on the first day, the first day of class. Hey everybody, we're gonna take turns. Why don't you guys show me? Listen, this is our first day. We haven't gone through anything. I want to see where you guys are at up here. How would you approach this crime scene? You know what I'm saying? And I don't even know if they'd be able to show up to the next class. Because if you're showing up with this kind of common sense, and that's why I have the title, Major Blow to the Defense, because there's all this conversation about how the IGG not being suppressed is a big blow. And I'm like, I don't think so. Because common sense tells me, when I'm looking at this contamination, common sense is telling me, how do you trust anything else in the investigation when this is what took place in the very beginning? Does this kind of effort...
Sorry, I think there's a delay. No, I was just saying, I think that the defense is far from done with the DNA. I don't see why. I think people are a little bit.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm saying, that's why I'm telling people, just calm down. There's not, like, to me, listen, I've seen it from the beginning, from December 22. I've seen it from the beginning. I've seen this contamination from the beginning. That's why it instantly made me think of OJ's case, in the contamination that led up to the glove. So when I seen this, it's like, hold on a second. And then I've already been telling you since the same time. They just got the tip. After we start digging into the PCA in January and February 23, it's like, yeah, they just took the tip. Because I'm looking at it going, where's the other stuff? I'm not seeing it. Where's the photo of the car? You guys want to see what a photo of the car looks like from Moscow? This is a camera from Moscow. You're going to tell me that you don't have... This is a camera from Moscow. You're going to tell me that you don't have a frickin' picture of Koberger's car that looks this good? What? You're going to put out a stock photo. Come on now. We've known this. This one was taken November 18th of 23. Cause that's... We're like, no, this don't make sense. I just got back from my trip out to Idaho for the 1-year anniversary. And I did the PCA drive around, and I'm sitting there going, you guys, there's so many freaking cameras. That's why I took the video. I'm going to take the video of the exact PCA route when I'm out there. I'm going to document it, and I'm going to drive by. And then we're going to go through it when I get back, and we're going to go through and see how many cameras would have caught them, especially cameras at four-way stops. So then when I get back from my trip to Idaho and we start taking... I took the photo Saturday, November 18th, 2023. And you're going to tell me they couldn't get a car? They had to put out a stock photo and give you the wrong year all the way up until the day before they arrested him? And then you go back to this and we're talking the DNA dirty gloves? You can't believe it. This effort right here is the same kind of effort that the law enforcement gave showing up, because it took them 4 hours to get there when it literally takes 2 minutes. It took them 4 hours. And then when they showed up 4 hours later after the 911 call, don't you think they would have showed up 4 minutes after the 911 call? It took them 4 hours. And then you got the second lead in command at the time pulling up to the scene going, I instantly knew as soon as I pulled up that we weren't going to be able to handle the situation, so I instantly called Idaho State Police. How much longer did that take? So these victims were sitting there because the crime, quote, took place between 4 and 4:23. I've always thought it was between 3 and 4, shortly before 3 o'clock, honestly. You think about the multiple phone calls from both phones to Jack. To me, that's when something was, something happened. Something happened.
Yeah, I've always thought those calls were after, but I think still, I mean, we can both definitely say that we disagree with their timeline, at least. It doesn't make sense at all.
And then you got this guy. I don't know if you guys remember this guy from back in the day. There's Kaylee right here. You guys remember this guy? That was, look at this. Look at the date. 11/13/2021. And this guy was going around, and I don't know, I'd have to find the video somewhere. There's so much stuff I have scattered from back then. This guy right here was going around pretending to stab people. Like, there's so much creepy stuff. You want to talk about, creepy weapons. Hell, back in the beginning, we were showing you all the weapons. This is just one of them, but we were showing you all the weapons that they have around. You know what I'm saying? There's machetes at neighbors' houses. There's a machete at 1112 where the ring camera and the audio were coming from that they're using in the trial. And there's a machete over there. You had some of the people that were living at 1122 holding the machete in the background because they were chopping up pumpkins. Does anybody remember those from back in the day? Xana holding the machete, chopping pumpkins on the on the porch of 1112. This one right here. This porch right here, that's where the camera is. 1112 camera and audio. Anybody remember the machete pictures where they were tossing pumpkins out of the front door and they were macheteing them as they're coming out the front door? Yeah.
I didn't see that. I didn't get to see that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I have so many different folders, and I mean it's so scattered, and I've thought about just dumping all my photos into one huge folder, because there's so many, and the videos too. But I have the photos. I have all the photos. It's just they're in a billion different folders because we're talking about stuff that was in the very beginning of my show. Like I said, my show started a week before this crime took place, and I was a rookie in this. I had to learn everything myself. Like I was just dumping stuff, and back then. And as time goes on, and I'm working on all these other cases, I don't have time to go back and reorganize stuff from 2023 and 2022 and stuff. But I thought about just dumping it all in because as I'm going through these different photos, it's kind of like that one that I showed up here a minute ago, the blast from the past, this one right here. Hold on. There's so many of them I want to show you. Where's it at? Like this one right here, when the blast from the past, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember when this was like before Koberger was even arrested. This was before Koberger was even arrested. And those are pretty bushy eyebrows, aren't they? Whoops, hold on. I better do that.
We must find out if there's a way for us to help you sort the photos. Maybe there is.
I might have to clip that out. There's a what?
No, I just said we must find out if there's a way for us to help you to sort through the photos and organize them. Maybe.
I don't know.
We'll see. Maybe there is.
If I don't know. There's who is the person? It's a first responder, Beach Bell. It's a first responder. Yeah. Let me go to my YouTube because I made this thing like a long time ago. Hold on. This was when Yoli and Silky were on. Hold on a second. Let's see. I don't know. Is it gonna? How do I do this? This was from a long time ago. Where's it at? Let's see if it works. I don't know. Let's see if it works. Bring into light this stuff about the MVFD. What's the one way? So the MVFD is the Moscow Volunteer Fire Department. Okay? So as we're going through our uncovering the cover, because when I went out there, here I'll drop the link. It's a playlist. It has a bunch of videos that shows you all the stuff that we dug into. When I went out there for my trip, I started to sit there and go, this has to be like a university, like, hey, sororities and frats, you police yourself and everybody wins kind of thing, right? Just do what we tell you, but you police yourself. So as I'm out there, I'm like, man, there's got to be these connections and stuff. So when I get back, we start, and I think it was before, it might have been during my trip actually. We started to look into these connections, and I started to realize that we started to uncover that they had volunteer programs where they had their own. So, like, sororities and fraternities would have members that volunteer for the Moscow volunteer fire department program, where they would be volunteer firefighters, volunteer EMS. It was all volunteer work, so they didn't have to pay for it. And the thing is they let these students, basically the student volunteers shifts were here. I'll put it like this: the regular people, the regular ones that weren't students, their shift was from 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. Okay, Monday through Friday. Every other time had to be covered from the volunteers. So Monday through Friday, volunteers of frats and sororities, volunteers would start work at 4 p.m. and be done at 7 a.m. They're the ones handling all the overnight calls on the weekdays. Now, when it comes to the weekend, those same volunteers were working the whole weekend. They were not only working the mornings, they were working the evenings too. So when it comes to the fraternities and the sororities policing themselves, they basically could handle, because listen, they didn't want their sorority to get in trouble, right? They didn't want to go show up at one of their sorority sisters' houses, and one of their sorority sisters' houses, oh shoot, she's having an OD. So they hurry up, they give her what she needs, and guess what they do? No report. What is Moscow known for the most? No report. We showed up here at this time. We responded to a call about this. No report. So you let the university look good because, hey, guys, guess what? Yes, we're a party school, but we don't have sexual assaults. We don't have ODs. We don't have this. We get more funding. Guess what? The sororities look good because guess what? The sororities don't have assaults. And the sororities don't have ODs and all these other things, so they look good too. So guess what happens? They both get to look amazing, and they both get to get all these awards, and they both get to get all this funding. Speaking of, Sigma Chi makes $400,000 to $500,000 a year just for the university alone. There's so many things that they have going on because they let them police themselves. So when you're talking about these first responders, guess who would have showed up at the crime scene at 11:22, at 11:59 a.m., 12 a.m., 12 p.m., 12:01 p.m., because it would have only been a minute. Guess who showed up? Sigma Chi. That's why the uncovering the cover is so important, because I can sit there and tell you all day, Sigma Chi was the first one to show up, blah, 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 blah. You have to watch those videos because we go through the procedures. We go through the manuals. We go through the documents. We go through everything to show you guys that this isn't no joke. So when I bring up this point right here talking about MVFD, what's up, Heather? When I bring up this point about MVFD, this is why I'm saying, what's the easiest way to get rid of your DNA? and exclude it from the crime scene, you just show up as a first responder because you're automatically excluded to get rid of your DNA from the crime scene if you committed the crime. To show up to help, right? And that's one way is for you to show up and your DNA is excluded. Your footprints are excluded.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you touch is excluded. Bring into light. Everything is excluded. And so you go back to this. I'm sorry. How do we know? How do we know? Contribution call out Jennifer P for gifted a membership. Thank you so much. Hold on one second. Tina got it. And thank you. And Jennifer P, member for 10 months. Holy should take mushrooms almost a year. Holy should take. I've never heard of that word. That's funny. That's right too.
Yeah.
Even lab workers. It
That's
gets
pretty common. I've seen that with a couple cases as well, where there's been DNA that's been found, and they've just like written there it belongs to the the lab technician, and then they just exclude that. So I'm pretty sure it's a similar system for everybody who's on scene, and add in the complication of it being the first responders being their peers and it being a party house. It's a disaster forensically.
It makes you wonder, when you look at the protocols of the fraternity, they have to have a crisis plan. What's up, Aaliyah? They have to have a crisis plan. You guys got to check out the Uncovering the Cover playlist. Trust me, the documents, the protocols, all that stuff. You will sit there and go, holy hell. That would explain the 4-hour gap. What I don't understand is why law enforcement this is okay. So this is the only way that I can explain the 4-hour gap. Okay. And it deals with the Uncovering the Cover. Because I just brought up how they're the ones that are working the shift. EMS. Okay. They're the ones that are working the shift. They're the ones that are, quote, supposed to police themselves, right? So maybe law enforcement depended on the student. Listen, we don't want to show up to a call because remember, it's all about plausible deniability, right? We're not going to show up to a call because there was a 911. We're going to let the students tell us if we need to show up because we want plausible deniability. That's the only thing that would make sense. Now, it taken 4 hours, maybe it was taken 4 hours because that was the first time any volunteers ever ran into that. And they were like, oh my, what do we do? Maybe there's a whole bunch of people trying to gain access and couldn't make it because they couldn't handle it because of the fumes. The 4-hour gap. Hey, we got to figure out a crisis plan, whatever. But still, I don't know how you can sit there and let these victims lay there that long. I just don't understand it.
The fact that there is even a crisis team immediately makes you want to question their priorities in this. Like reputation versus investigation. It's actually kind of terrifying that there even is something like that.
Let me, you know what? Let me let me go to this playlist and because there's this one about the president. You guys remember? You guys remember when the president was doing his interviews with Brian Netton and the president was like looking down and he was looking away and he's like, look, man, I gotta go to class. He wasn't talking. You guys remember that guy? This is the same guy. Hold on. Sigma Chi president right here. Maybe this is it. Whoa, hold on.
I think I remember this guy. I'm not sure.
Morning, everybody. Well, it's morning for you. It's still night for me. But I got a community freeze for you as you start your Tuesday. Peace, positivity, and progress all the way. Please hit the like if you haven't yet. And if you're not subscribed, please consider so. The interesting thing that came up as we closed the show, you'll definitely want to check out last night's show if you missed it as we continue to uncover the cover. Shout out to my mod caddy. Appreciate you. We were talking about and showing pictures of different volunteers and how the program works, and we were kind of getting into it. Also, we were showing some other interesting players that also got some volunteer awards as well. You'll definitely want to check out last night's show. By the way, please hit the like if you haven't yet, and if you are not subscribed, please consider doing so.
Rookie shit.
But you're going to want to check this out now. Just a little teeny tidbit here. When it comes to this Moscow Volunteer Fire Department Student Resident Program that they got going. We were showing some of the pictures in last night's show, and I got something special for you as you start your day off. Appreciate you. Hope you have a peaceful and positive day. Just wait. Here we go. Now, when we were going through this, guess who? Guess who, everybody? Who is the volunteer firefighter / EMS / first responder in the year of 2022? This guy.
I knew them. Ethan was always in our house. Dana was a good friend before, Ethan even came up. But that's all everyone wants to talk about right now because I actually have class here in like 15 minutes.
Sigma Chi President Reed Offson says the fraternity is cooperating with the investigation. The fraternity is about half a block from the house where the murders happened.
Does anyone know where they were during that timeline? Like there's still this big chunk where...
As of right now, we've told Moscow PD, Idaho State Police, and the FBI all we know. We're kind of leaving it up to them to piece it together. Obviously, we don't have the utilities or resources to do it on our own, so we're just putting full faith in officers and the detectives doing it. But that's all I really know right now.
Are there any cameras around?
Not on the property.
Moscow police say they are investigating the time frame between 9 p.m. the night before the murders on November 12th and 1:45 a.m. when Ethan and Xana were believed to be at the Sigma Chi house.
Why so quiet, bro? Right? Like you see the non-eye contact, the looking around. Firefighter of the year, first responder. Oh, there's so much, you guys. There's so many. There's like it's only 12 videos. Some of them are longer. A lot of them are, there's some shorts, there's some, long episodes because there's a lot to get into. And yeah, Aaliyah, send it to me, please, because it's one of the things that we discovered, right around when I went out there for the year anniversary. Is when I started talking to people and started to hear some of the stories and stuff, I was like, oh, hell no. Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. It's mostly about how the frats and the university is connected. Let me see here. Let's see. How long is it? Is there like a timestamp, Aaliyah? Oh, it's got President Green in it.
Ooh.
Oh, he's looking beat.
Oh, we're in for a treat. Okay.
Well, I don't know if we could. You know what?
No, I'm
had,
kidding.
well, here it is. Oh, doesn't he look beat? Thank you,
Yeah.
Aaliyah. He looks beat, right? Damn, I want to go into it, but I had a lot of stuff to go into too. Let me see here. Hold on. Is he on the whole time? Yeah, he's on the whole time. I bet you it has something to do with funding for student programs. Am I correct, Aaliyah? Funding for student programs, because that's where they make a lot of their money, is the funding for these student programs. You know, you keep the bad calls down. You keep you want the volume, because you need the volume of calls coming in, whether it's 911, fire, any of those. You need the volume, and that's why you'll hear like some of these cities brag about, yeah, met a volume of so many calls. It's because for every so many calls, they get more funding from the state. So yes, they want the volume of calls because that brings in money. It also brings in money by not having the negativity with those calls. Yes, and then making this big new program with all 3 colleges. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Thank you for that. Here, let me drop it for you guys. I'm gonna save it myself. Damn, that's a good one. When did this come out? 12 days ago. Oh, I was deathly ill at that point. Cause I'm like, man, how did I miss it? Cause I'm usually on top of it all, you know?
Yeah, this will be a good.
Yeah, thank you. There's the link. And if you're just watching on the screen, you can take a screenshot of it and type it in. I know that's a weird long ass one, but yeah, I'm not surprised, because that's what it's about when it comes to this uncovering the cover. It's about the funding. It's about the money coming in. It's about the student programs and the awards, and and when you're going back to this is part of that problem. This right here. This is part of that problem. These people get these awards that have no business getting them. These people get this recognition and get these positions that ain't got no business having them. What's up, Blackhawk? They ain't got no business having them. None. Especially this lady.
Especially.
Touching all that equipment. And then going in there and touching all the stuff inside the crime scene. Contamination. 101. Let me see here. I want to get to this. Okay, so now shakeup hits Brian Kohberger's defense after judge rules to keep DNA in Idaho murder trial. Now, you can see the title. I've already said, I don't think it's a major blow to the defense, because I'm coming at you with some common sense, and that common sense is contamination. It could be a blow to anybody, but guess what? To me, I've seen the contamination from the beginning, and I'm just waiting for the trial for that to be argued, because honestly, you can have whatever you want to have. Contamination rules. Now we watched, I dropped a video of the Steve Consalvis interview, and also Ethan Chapin's mother Stacy dropped one last night. It's just part of it, but I made a video. If you haven't seen it yet, it's in the video section. It's the latest one. The defense team for Moscow college student homicide suspect Brian Koberger is undergoing a shakeup. Jay Logson, North Idaho State Public Defender and co-counsel for the case's defense, will be replaced for Koberger's capital murder trial. A Thursday court order said, taking Logson's spot as Northern California attorney who specializes in DNA and previously testified as a paid consultant for the defense. Bicca Barlow, formerly of the San Francisco Public Defender's Office, joins the trio of lawyers. Now, Bicca was introduced to the court hearings in June of 2023, and we've already heard her testimony, and we can go back through that possibly today. I do want to include that towards the end, where you guys could, if you're not familiar with Bicca Barlow, she had already testified in some court hearings for this case in June of 2023. Very knowledgeable when it comes to especially Koberger's case, because she's been there from the beginning as well. And when it comes to Jay Logston, I'm just going to be honest with you. Anytime that Jay Logston has came up, it didn't really seem like he was. Maybe he was just lacking confidence or something. I don't know. He didn't really come across as somebody that was prepared, I guess is a better way to say it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, it's gonna, when it comes to Logston, I don't know. I think it's gonna be helpful when you guys remember, OJ had Barry Scheck. Barry Scheck's also the gentleman that discussed the DNA and the contamination, and it was a new. Back then, the liquid blood DNA was a new technology, and so you're looking at it today, and you're looking at the DNA, and it's a new DNA technology, IgG, when it comes to all that. So there's a lot of similarities when it comes to it. I don't like their tailgate frequent. Yeah. Yep. Touching all the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, Aaliyah, right? I make the news. I was like, oh, hell no. I know. I know. I had to make a video about it. I was like, damn, man. And the grin that he gave you, too. The grin that he gave you.
I actually thought I heard it wrong. I had to double check the first time. I couldn't believe he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
I don't follow the news. I make the news.
Oh, no.
with that grin, I was like, yeah. I made that video because as soon as I saw it, I was like, man, this reminds me of "Don't Make Me Be the Alpha," Steve. From December of 23, early December of 23. Don't make me be the alpha. It's like, damn, bro. Contribution call out C Dog. What's up for the gifted membership? Thank you so much. And Mama Duke got that. Thank you very much for the contribution, sir. Yeah, Echoes, we're going to be reading those tonight. We've already looked through them, and we're going to be having some special guests on this evening going through those. Let me see. This was this article, too. I was going to share it with you guys. This is, with the vacuum stuff. The Bissell backpack. Yeah, we'll see about that. Right.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
I mean, hey, when you got contamination before you even walk in there, I guess you got to come up with some crazy ass shit, don't you?
Right, but a vacuum? That's yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing about the transcripts. Because it's like I said in the beginning of the show, when we're gonna go through them tonight, most of this stuff. Good morning, everybody. Most of this stuff is gonna be stuff that we've all known from these initial court hearings in 23. It's gonna be a lot of the stuff that we've heard already, a lot of the stuff that's been out this whole time, a lot of the stuff that's really been discussed for the last 2 years almost, really. But there's little pieces in there that are gonna be new nuggets of information, and those new pieces are gonna like send your world spinning, man, because it's gonna be like it paints a picture. How do I put this? So this whole time, even before they had Koberger arrested, I've been saying that this investigation was sloppy. I've been saying this investigation uh, was based off of a lot of speculation and putting things together to make it fit. When you're looking below the surface, you're asking yourself, why would they do this? Why would they show this? Why would they say this? It didn't make sense. But on the surface, the public opinion, it's one of the reasons why we got bashed so much in the very beginning, because I'm sitting here calling out the same stuff that I was from back then, and people are like, "Oh, you're just a pro burger." It's like, no, it ain't no pro burger. It's called it's common sense. It's common sense. I don't know. I've always said I don't know if the dude did it or not, but what I'm telling you is this right here, contamination. And when you look at everything, how it was handled, hell, I remember seeing the press conferences in the very beginning, streaming them live for the community. And I'm sitting there going, every single time there was a press conference, I'm sitting there going, guys, what did they say different from the last one? And what information are they giving the public? This don't make sense. And I'm sitting there saying, how are they telling the community that they're safe, but they don't even know what the weapon was? They don't even know where the guy is. They have no leads. They don't. How can you tell the public that there's nothing to worry about if you don't even know? None of it made sense. None of it. And what really didn't make sense is how they didn't even have a press conference for 3 freaking days. And when they had the press conference, they didn't even have any information. Nothing. It was a joke from the beginning.
I think there was a lot of guessing from their side as well, especially with telling people that
What's
they
up,
were
Candy? Especially the what?
Especially with telling people that, there was nothing to worry about and that it was safe. And I mean, there's honestly no way to know that. Even now, there's no conviction.
No. Blackhawk, listen, somebody put up a picture, and this was the perfect picture. You want me to believe that the person that committed this crime was walking around with something like this? I mean, how many it's Octoman. How many hands do you expect this person to have? They show up like Joe Dirt trying to deliver a pizza and get lost, but they're effective inside like they're Batman, and they leave nothing behind, except for the sheath. We don't even know if the sheath was the sheath for the weapon that committed the crime. It's just the sheath. That's why I say the sheath, to me, could have been Kaylee holding up the knife sheath in the left hand and the knife in the right, and somebody comes in and attacks her, and what's she going to do? She's going to drop the sheath on the left side of her and use her left hand to defend herself. And this person's walking in with a sheath in one hand and a knife in one hand and a bag in the other. and a vacuum in the other. And like, is this Spider-Man? Are we watching like what? Are we watching a comic book movie? What are we watching here?
Yeah.
What are we watching?
And it also means there's a whole extra thing that they didn't find as well. Because, I mean, where is this cleaning equipment now?
I mean, you want to talk about a scary picture? Look at this. This is an oldie that I pulled up from earlier as I was going through some of my stuff.
Mm-mm. I hate that.
Dude, these people had knives and crazy ass blades and knives all over the place. You listen to Oh, I know that. Like Doom, Blackhawk, or yeah, like what's that other one? Doom and the sheath can be theirs. When you're looking at, let me pull this up. We'll take you on a tour. Uh-oh. Hold on, I gotta go. Where's it at? What'd they do? Take it down? What? Hold on. Okay, there we go. Let me share this with you. That's Dylan, Michael. That's one of the surviving roommates. That's one of the surviving roommates. All right. Let me see. Let me take you upstairs. All right. Well, that sucks because they don't have the bed in here anymore or anything. I'll have to, you know what? I might be able to play an old video, and because that shows the bed and all that stuff. Hold on a minute.
I can check if I have a picture of it as well. I think I do.
Yeah, do you?
Let me see. Hold on.
Where it's showing like this angle right here?
I think so. Let me check. 'Cause
Otherwise,
I did a video on it long ago, and I think I still have the video. I mean, the picture.
if not, I got this video I can probably use. I don't know how long. Let me see how long it is. Because it might not be but a couple minutes here. No. That's... Oh, wait. There's... how I think the killer committed the crime. Hold on. That'll show it. Sorry, hold on 1 second. There's so many videos that I did back then. Why? Let me see. This is why why the killer didn't see DM exiting the crime scene. Let me see here. What's this? It is small. Here, I'll play this while I try to find this other one too. So this is why I think that he didn't see her, right? So he's coming in the door. We already know that there's no curtains on that sliding glass door. Okay. So there is a light outside. You can see the light coming through the door. I want to point that out. Okay.
I missed that
So as he
background.
comes in, it doesn't matter if you think he went up. I missed that background from back in the day. The blue light.
It's really nice.
Yeah, that's when I had my coffee, my coffee neon. Oh
like it.
wow. Yeah, I missed this. Yeah. That was in the very beginning. Yeah, that's very beginning almost. Upstairs first, or you think he went to the second bedroom first. This door was locked. This door was shut. This door was locked. So, if what I'm saying, in my opinion, if he was chilling out in these trees 5 to 10 feet behind, waiting for the DoorDash delivery to happen, after it took place, started walking from the hill back up there through, chilling in the trees, I can see inside the property, because there's no curtains on the sliding glass door. I noticed 4 people walking around because DM is supposedly in this bedroom, already door shut and locked. So when the person comes in, the door's shut and locked, they already see the door shut and locked. I'm going to assume that a student is still out for the night. So whether I go to the second bedroom or living room area, or whether I go upstairs, the door's locked. I check because it's shut. I don't know it's locked. I check and it's locked. I check it quietly because the door's shut. So then I go, okay, must be out. So I either go upstairs or I go to the second bedroom. 2 people. I already have sweat and I already have blood. I could potentially have sweat and blood in my eyes. I'm sorry if the person that committed the crime saw somebody that was alive, they're gonna go after them too. Especially if the door's open, they're gonna go after them too. Why? No witnesses. Come on now. Then I go to the other part of the house, whether it's the upstairs or the second bedroom. Then that crime takes place. That's even more blood and sweat on you. Now, are you not going to have more blood and sweat on your hands and arms? Yes, you will. How are you going to wipe the blood and sweat off your face when you have it all over your hands and your arms? You're not going to be able to wipe it off. So what's going to happen is that blood and sweat is slowly going to creep into the corners of your eyes. It's going to fog your vision. Your eyes are going to get stingy. You can't wipe them. So whenever you go to leave the crime, because the door is still shut and locked, whenever you go to leave the crime, your eyes are stingy from sweat and blood. And all you can really focus on is the light coming out of that sliding glass door. So whether you're coming from right here, which is what DM stated, came from this area right here, walked by with the door cracked, you're not going to see the door cracked. You're not going to be focused on the door cracked because you just unalived 4 people and you're trying to get the hell out. And you already checked that door, and last time it was locked. And all you can see is the light coming through the door because everything else stings, burns, and is cloudy. That's why I think that the person that did this crime could have very easily not seen that little cracked door, because as I'm walking through, all I can focus on through cloudy vision is that sliding glass door. The light coming out of that sliding glass door. Because all of that's going to pull to the sides, the outsides of your eyes and the inside of your eyes. You're going to have cloudy vision. And after you just commit the crime against 4 people and you're walking through, you're going to see, remember the lights that are lit up at the back of the property, the bulbs that are lit by that sliding glass door that's hanging off on the deck? That lit up, illuminated the sliding glass door going out that kitchen. That's where they're going to see the light illumination. So it's going to be dark in there, but they see that, they know that there's that light. the light of the door, if that's how they left, they're not going to see the door cracked, because I'm telling you right now, ain't nobody going to listen. If you've already done 4 people, a 5th person ain't going to be nothing much more, especially when it comes to you making sure that there's no witnesses. Because if they weren't worried about witnesses, then why'd they commit 4 of them?
Exactly.
Because they didn't want witnesses. That's why. Yeah. Where'd you send those photos?
I sent them to Discord.
Okay, one second.
I'm sorry, I don't know if they're very good. They're just screenshots I had from long ago. I don't know if they show up.
That's good. Okay, so here's. Yeah, hold on. Let me open them up here. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So let me get rid of some of these links here. Okay, so we're looking at this photo right here. Okay. So here, let me switch this around. What's up, Tara? Good morning. All right, so you're looking at this photo, okay? This right here, see this dot right here? This is where Kaylee was. She was up against the corner, okay? So when we're looking at this photo and you're going right here, you see this wall right here? Yes, it's a very small room, okay? Very small room, just enough for a bed pretty much. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. All right, this part of the room. You're coming in the door. You got the bed right there. So we're looking at this photo. This is where Kaylee was found. Maddie was laying down. Kaylee was up against the corner, and some of her body was laying on top of Maddie. The knife sheath was partially underneath Maddie. Okay, so this is why I say, because they don't know if the K-bar was the weapon that committed the crime, and this is where I'm coming with how the K-bar knife sheath could have ended up there as a potential of something taking place. So you're talking about that minimal amount of DNA. We know that Kohberger owned some knives. Who says he didn't pawn one of them? Who says he didn't pawn one of them? Who says Maddie's love interest wanted to go to a pawn shop and, knives are all over the place? Maddie probably wouldn't be one to carry around a machete, or even probably want a machete in her room, or even a pew-pew that maybe needed something to keep her safe. So what are they going to do? What's a common weapon up there, especially with hunting as well? A K-bar. Okay? So who's to say that a love interest didn't go to a pawn shop? Or didn't buy it from another person, because remember, there was no connection. No connection whatsoever, even through social media. So who's to say that love interest didn't purchase that K-bar in the thief from some third-party avenue, like a pawn shop? Say that K-bar was laying inside this desk. Say the K-bar was laying inside this desk. Maddie and Kaylee are sleeping together in the same bed. We already know Kaylee moved out, so they're sleeping in the same bed. Kaylee, not being, because we saw the difference between the intoxication level.
Sorry, CJ, you're cutting out a little bit. I just wanted to let you know. I don't think it's just me. Yeah.
No, it's probably mine. Hold on. I might have too many tabs.
Okay, because it got a bit unclear there, the last few.
My internet is just. Hold on.
Mine too. I have you on a delay, which is why I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
That's why I'm typing in chat so much, because I'm just like, feel bad.
Where was I at? Shoot.
That does sound better though.
So say the K-bar is in this desk. Shoot, that's what I hate about the internet that does this, because I don't even know where you could understand what I was saying, because it doesn't do anything different in my ear.
Sorry, it was coming in and out, and I was trying to understand. Sorry.
No, it's fine. What's the last thing that you heard? Do you remember?
I remember you saying that the last thing I heard properly was that they wouldn't want the pew pew, that she might not want that.
Oh.
And then from there, it was going in and out, but it was coming back, and then I thought it was fine, and then.
Okay, so basically the love interest, it's a common weapon up in that area as well,
Right.
because of the hunting that takes place up in there. And also the animal skinning, that's a common thing up there too. But a K-bar would be small enough, compact enough, and strong enough for her to be able to use it to defend herself. It's not like machetes that everybody else has in that neighborhood. So say a love interest bought a K-bar, and she had that K-bar in that drawer right there in that little desk. Kaylee and Maddie are sleeping in the same bed. We know Kaylee already moved out weeks before. Say they're sleeping in the same bed. All of a sudden, there's some noises happening. Kaylee wakes up, tries to wake up Maddie. She won't wake up. Tries to call Jack. Jack's not answering. Tries to call Jack from Maddie's phone. Jack's not answering. She don't know what's going on. She hears something, and she's scared. We know Kaylee. She was always extra aware. So Kaylee, knowing that there's a K-bar there that was Maddie's, picks it up. Grabs it from the desk because she don't know what's happening. Grabs it from that desk, pulls the knife out, and is sitting up against the corner still trying to wake up Maddie. She's going to have the sheath in the left hand because she doesn't know if those noises are a threat or somebody she knows. She definitely doesn't want to have the knife out with no protection with her because she might have to put it back in the sheath because she might not need it. But she doesn't want it in the sheath because she wants to make sure that she has the knife out in case it is a threat. So when the threat comes in, she instantly drops the sheath, which would be in this spot right here. Left hand drops the sheath to defend herself and try and fight back with that weapon. Now, that person that committed the crime probably overpowered her already and was able to take that K-bar from her. Wasn't worried about the sheath because they weren't the ones that it was their weapon. But they wanted to take the K-bar because that is a souvenir from the crime. So they went ahead and kept the K-bar and left the sheath. And so that's when it comes to the sheath and how it was placed. Now, another thing you got to think about when it comes to these statements is how do you see, if you're looking at this bed, how do you see the sheath from the doorway? Because see the doorway, if you're looking through the doorway, You only have a particular angle of view. How do you have a particular angle of view to see somebody else's body and their legs laying over the other person, and the sheath was underneath, half underneath the person's body that somebody else had their legs over? So if you look at the sheet right here, you see how it's going like this. Imagine Kaylee's legs coming out this way, okay? Imagine Kaylee's legs coming out this way. And then you can imagine Maddie underneath her legs laying the long way. If that knife sheath is halfway under Maddie, and then you have Kaylee's legs over Maddie, how from the doorway are you seeing the knife sheath?
You're not.
I don't know. Yes, we're going to be reading the full transcript tonight. We'll be having Yo Law. We'll be having Audrey. You're more than welcome to join. I sent you a message. And then we'll be having Kathy Indie Zone Podcast, Commercial Zone OG from the community from Idaho 4. And then if Rosie's able to, you're more than welcome. And we're going to be reading through these documents. Like I said, most of it's stuff that's been out since June, July of 2023. 90% of it, 95% of it. But the little stuff that is not and has not, oh my gosh. I don't know how people are saying that this is a major blow to the defense. Because everybody knew, well, maybe not everybody, but it's like, yeah, they're gonna allow it. That's why I was never concerned about them allowing it. That's why after I heard about them allowing it, I wasn't worried about it, because I remembered this from the very beginning. And that right there is what they need to be worried about. Yeah, that too. I don't know. I don't recall. I know that was... That's why Yoli's kind of upset, because she's like, why did they not pressure them? Why don't you recall? What could I do to help help you recall? Like, you don't remember your own accolades. What do you mean? You don't remember how many times you did this in your career?
Well, that is upsetting. It's like, why are you here?
Right.
You're supposed to know things. That's why we put you there, because you know things. And we're supposed to talk about the things that you know, and now you don't.
That's why their search warrant was denied over and over and over until they added the IGG on it. Once they added the IGG, they were able to apprehend him and bust in with a SWAT team. If they didn't have that when they didn't have the DNA link, so to speak, on the exhibit, the PCA, they didn't have it on there. It was getting denied. The judge wasn't signing that. We need more. We need more. We need more. Okay, we got this now. All right, here you go. Bam, 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 bam. And that's exactly right. It sheds light on how inaccurate the DNA could be if admitted. And you mix that with the dirty DNA gloves. I'm sorry. It doesn't... You could have this is why I'm telling people, like, you can have so much evidence. Think OJ. Think of all the evidence they had so much evidence, you guys. I watched the trial. I watched it. Court TV was coming out. I seen it. I was glued to it. I saw the way that they tore apart the evidence. There was so much evidence, but the thing was, is they created reasonable doubt because of contamination with everything. With everything. And it was just like this. This is why I'm going to be starting my OJ series again. Just so people can really see, like, because I know a lot of people think that it was the glove that set OJ free, and that wasn't it at all. Because anybody, I mean, think about it. You have a glove that had blood on it, and it was almost a year to the day. Well, actually, by that time in the trial, it was after a year that the crime was committed. It's already going to be shrunk. If anybody's owned a pair of leather gloves, you already know when you're putting those leather gloves on, they're already tight. So you take the tightness of the leather gloves, period, with no blood on it, and then you add latex glove to try and put an already supposed to be form-fitting glove that's tight, and you're trying to move latex through leather, you don't have to be a great actor at all to not have the glove get on, because good luck for anybody trying to put on a leather glove with a latex glove underneath of it. Good luck. If Darden was smart enough, he would have got the same exact pair of gloves, the same exact size, and had him try on those. And I bet you, because no latex glove, I bet you they would have fit. But that's what most people think, because it's the catchy line. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. It's the catchy line, but that's why I said it's just the very smallest tip of the iceberg, because you don't get to the reasonable doubt with the glove unless you see all the contamination from the people that were investigating the crime to then go to the glove. Yeah, that's reasonable doubt. But no, that's not what won OJ the case. It was just a catchy phrase that caught on. It was the contamination of the DNA and the shredding of the people that were handling the DNA, the law enforcement, the people that didn't have personal protective equipment, the lies on the stand, the I don't knows, the I don't recall. There was a lot of that stuff. And that's why I'm going to be starting it again. Good morning, Bree. Because when everybody sees this as we go through each week of this trial and they start to see all these different parts of this case and the information, and they're going to be like, holy hell, this is a cookie cutter example of what we're seeing right here. New DNA technology back then, new DNA technology here. Contamination back then, contamination here. The only difference is they had so much on OJ and they barely got anything on BK. So when you're looking at how they handled that trial and how that trial went, and you were looking at how the defense was able to tear apart all of the things, because remember back then too, the prosecution in the OJ trial was uber confident that it was a slam dunk. We got so much. And they were able to argue reasonable doubt because of contamination with the amount that they had, and they don't have it with BK. It's over. There is no major blow. There is no major blow.
I hope so. I really hope that.
Dirty minted from DNA from Pietro. Yeah. I mean, and how do we know? And this is another thing, this is what I was trying, people were like, oh, well, garbage is public domain. Yeah, it is. But when it comes to a gated community, you have to have permission from somebody that lives there to be able to get access to get that garbage. So then to sit there and and expect a trash worker. Is a trash worker for the trash company experienced in handling DNA? Are they experienced in keeping contamination away from evidence? Are they experienced in that? No. So how do we know that that person transported? Because I've been telling you guys that they had to sit outside the gate and the trash man had to give it to them because that's when it was public domain. They couldn't enter the gated property to get access to the garbage.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's why they had to have the garbage man get the garbage specifically and then bring it out outside of the gate to hand it to the investigators.
Really didn't know that. That like changes chain of custody and everything.
How do we know that guy could handle that potential evidence?
Well, he couldn't.
He probably did a better job than this lady right
I
here.
was just thinking that. I was like, should I say that? And then I decided not to. But that's true. That is
Yeah,
true.
he probably did. He probably did. Probably did. Probably put it in a bag, but think about it. What unless they gave him something, but still. Contamination with dude. Think about trash. How much contamination is in garbage already? You're going to tell me the dude was totally clean in a hazmat suit? Come on now. Come on now.
Yeah, and there's also a question of things, they always ask you to look at how much stuff is layered on top of one another. Like, that's one of the main things that you're supposed to look at with collections. So, in terms of trash, I think that's the whole point of it is to just put it in one pile, right? So, that's already a question.
Oh, whoa. Hold on a minute. What the heck? You remember when this is crazy. You remember when YouTube Oh my gosh, I just freaked out. Remember when YouTube all like my playlist disappeared? All the
Yeah.
playlists and stuff? It just did that a second ago and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I lost all the stuff that I had prepared for this morning."
Oh gosh. There's a lot of technical issues today. Like, I'm not even fully hearing you all the time, but it's on my side as well. So there's a delay. So I don't know if it's StreamYard or YouTube or just me. It's bad today.
I don't know. It's probably all of it together, honestly. So I wanted to show, where's it at? But yeah, around 7:00 Central tonight. Here's the link if you want to go click on it. This is when we're going to be reading all of those papers, like I said. And Yoli, I know Audrey's read the docs. I know Yoli's read all the docs. I know Kathy, Commercial Zones, read all the docs. I've been reading the docs. I can't wait to read it. We're going to read through them tonight. And we're going to have some commentary to go with it. Yeah, it's you're going to be shocked, trust me. You're going to be shocked. Let me see. I want to play I don't know. I'll ask you, Rosie. Do you want to watch Vinny from Court TV, or do you want to watch Law and Crime Network? I don't know who's hosting Law and Crime.
Let's go with
Vinny. Vinny.
I think so. If you agree.
Well, we got Unknown DNA from Vinny, his podcast where his crew was on there. I think his crew's on there. And then Law and Crime talking about the suppression getting denied. So I like Vinny though. He's
Me too.
Yeah, he's colorful. He's colorful. Let me see here. Let's check out Vinny and see what Vinny has to say.
All right. I might try and attempt tonight, but it's 3 a.m. for me, so maybe I'll be late, or I don't know. I have been sick, but I'm so tempted. So maybe.
Well, if you gotta bounce from this one, bounce. I would love to be able to. I know it's a crazy time for you, and I hate. Right, as of right now, it's 7 o'clock. It's not set in stone, but I'm thinking it's going to be like 7:30 Central tonight,
Okay.
pretty much. So I would love to have you on that one too, because we've all of us together have kind of been at it from the very beginning, and I think it would really help when it comes to the stuff that we're reading, because it's going to be wild, you guys. Like,
Yeah, I'll try. I might be late. I might come in at like 4 a.m. my time because I've been really sick. So I just want to make sure I sleep first. But I think I am gonna try because
okay,
that's not one that I want to miss. But if I don't arrive, it means I slept through my alarms.
oh, it's okay. Okay,
Sorry.
no, you're good.
I'll try.
No, it's and it's probably gonna be a pretty long show too, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and fit all 175 in it. If we can't, then I'm gonna do the rest the next night. But I'm really gonna try and shoot to fit all 175, even if it's like 5 hours. I'm really gonna try and get the whole thing in one episode.
Right. I might be late. I know I used to make your 3 a.m. shows, and that was only a year ago. But I look back on that, and I'm like, I'm old now. So
You're old now?
I'm old now. It's been a whole year. I don't know how I did that.
Whatever. All right. This is Vinny. This is from, I think, just a little bit ago. Yeah. Yesterday afternoon. And him talking. I think it's his podcast people. No, this is his regular. He's got Nick Eaton on there though. So and I like Nick Eaton. He's really respectable out there. And he did a lot of stuff for Dylan Round's case. So if you're familiar with that one, you'll know who Nate Eaton, really good journalist.
Yeah.
Nick or Nate, I can't remember.
The views and opinions expressed in this.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying I think it's Nate, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is. Did you know Vinny was a DJ back in the day? Yeah.
I was on the stream when we found that out, and we went and got a picture, and I'm still emotionally affected by that picture.
Hold on, let me. I was looking at old photos. Just give me a second. I was looking at old photos. Here it is, right here. Oh my gosh, 3 of them. Hold on. I was looking at old photos, and I remember coming across them. Okay, here we go. Hold on. This is Vinny when he was DJ Vinny. This is Vinny when he was a DJ. I really got to organize. There's so many old photos that I came across as I was getting. Oh yeah, like here's Vinny. Yeah. There's Vinny, DJ Vinny back in the day.
Oh my goodness. He looks great.
Yes, here's DJ Vinny, Metropolitan Records co-founder. It says, wow, Vinny Politan, co-founder of Metropolitan Records on the Wheels of Steels.
Oh no.
Where's the other one? This one right here. Here's a picture. DJ Vinny. This one, I know you guys. There's so many old photos. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta save this one too. I really gotta figure out a way to organize them. There's so many from back in the day. But yeah, this one makes me think of that when I first seen this picture. If you guys remember when Eddie Murphy tried to make a music career back in the 80s and sang that song Party All the Time. That's what this photo reminds me of, is when Eddie Murphy was doing that music video Party All the Time back in the 80s when he was trying to be a music artist, because actors wanted to be musicians and musicians wanted to be you know, vice versa. But yeah. Yeah. DJ Vinny.
I'm glad we went with Vinny then.
The members only jacket. All right, back to now. Look at him. Now he's all deadly. I used to be a prosecutor. And look, it's not a pastel tie. It's a navy blue. That's weird. All right, we'll get to it. Yes, hop out early if you need to get some rest, because we need you tonight, Rosie.
Okay. It's only 5 p.m. I can stay a little bit longer, and then maybe I will. I don't want to miss too much of Vinny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check it out.
All right, I'll let you know.
The subject of my investigation is the murder of 4 college students in Idaho.
What? I think Caddy said something, or was it you, Caddy, that was like, oh, it's edited. Like, why didn't you edit this out, dude?
I'm Vinny Politan. The subject of my investigation is the murder of 4 college students in Idaho. It was a murder mystery that captivated the nation and is now the highest profile trial on the Court TV docket. And now new controversy surrounding DNA evidence. Here's the story. Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee were 4 friends living together in an off-campus house at the University of Idaho. They worked hard and were all flourishing as students and having the times of their lives. They were popular, and their house was known as a gathering spot for fellow students. All of that tragically changed in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. Those 4 students were stabbed to death inside their home. The brutal crime shook the community and touched the nation, setting off an intense manhunt for a killer. Students were afraid to be alone on campus. Some of them never came back. Investigators from the Moscow Police Department joined forces with the Idaho State Police and the FBI, following every lead, every tip, and every piece of evidence. That investigation took them across the country to Pennsylvania and led them to this man, a grad student at a neighboring university in Pullman, Washington. This accused mass killer has denied the allegations and claims to have an alibi. And now, new controversy in the case involving DNA samples from the scene. What does this evidence reveal?
Yeah, DNA from the scene. We do know what other DNA was from the scene. This right here. Oh, yeah. That dirty DNA.
This is a circumstantial case. Make no mistake, there's no direct evidence. There's no confession. There's no admission. There's no eyewitness who actually saw and can identify the killer. Did not witness the killings. There is no videotape of the killings. It's going to be circumstantial evidence. So all of it has to be weighed by the jury. That's the bottom line in this case. So let's talk about some of that evidence. The suspect's attorney was speaking about evidence. We know this is a DNA-driven case. And there's some DNA that we haven't really spoken about in the course of our coverage of this case, and it came up in court. Take a listen to Ann Taylor, the attorney representing the accused killer.
What other explanation is there? The magistrate wasn't given a chance to ask that. She wasn't given a chance to ask that when she wasn't told about unknown male B, blood on the handrail. She wasn't given a chance to ask about that when she wasn't told about unknown male D, blood on a glove right outside the residence. She wasn't given a chance to ask any of those questions.
Unknown male B, unknown male D, DNA found in 2 different spots. Male DNA found in 2 different spots. Brings us to the first question in our investigation. Where was the unknown DNA found? Where specifically, and what's the significance of where the DNA is found? It's an important question. Joining me to help us through all this, he is the news director at EastIdahoNews.com. You recognize him. He's been covering this case and everything that happens out there. Nate Eaton is with us, and former homicide detective and host of the very popular The Interview Room with Chris McDonough. Of course, it's Chris McDonough. Great to see both of you. All right, so Nate, we're talking about DNA. Let's start first with the handrail. This is a handrail inside the home. We have some images here from Realtor.com, but to me that is extremely significant in trying to figure out which handrail, because this is a 3-story house.
So when I showed you guys the pictures, all right, these photos right here. Let me pull it back up again. I have so many. Hold on. When we show you, where's it at? This one. So when we show you this photo right here, okay, that's the same window that you see in the video that we're watching for Court TV. Now, you'll see the lady that has the short brown hair that is right here. The lady that has the short brown hair right here, you see her. Is it showing it? Yeah. You see her lean over that rail along with another gentleman. They're looking down. Oh. They're looking down this rail right here. Now, there's a rail to the right on the wall to the right. There's also a rail to the left that goes down that half wall down to the bottom of the stairs. Now, what was interesting is the guy actually looked over the half wall, and the lady with the short brown hair was standing at the top of the stairs looking down. So I've always wondered, maybe that's where the blood on the handrail is, because I always thought it was very interesting that you see both of them focus down looking at the stairs, and you see her pointing at something, and you see him lean over the half wall to look down, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, it's a 3-story house, and the students were murdered on the 2nd and 3rd stories of the home. So you would have to, one would imagine, if you're, killing these students, you'd have to use a handrail to try to get down or up. And remember, it's also the dark, Vinny. So it's dark inside the house. After this brutal crime is committed, it would be very possible, and it sounds like the police scrubbed everywhere for any sign of DNA, and they did find it on a handrail. Which handrail that was, they haven't said yet. Whether it was from the 3rd floor to the 2nd or the 2nd to the 1st, we don't know. But that is a significant place to find that DNA.
Yeah, Chris, I think if it's 2nd to the 3rd, to me that would be the most problematic potentially for prosecutors in this case, because 2 of the girls, Maddie, Kaylee, are murdered on that 3rd floor. You got to leave the 3rd floor, you get back to the 2nd floor, because that's where he exited and also took the lives of 2 more people. So if it is in fact that handrail, because I don't know if the suspect ever went down to that 1st floor. So if it's the handrail from 2nd to 3rd floor, extremely significant, I think.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you, Vinny. And the other question then it has to come into play is, what type of blood is this? Is it transfer? Is it cast off? So there's a whole other...
I mean, it's like I said when I first heard it, it could literally be blood from somebody's bloody. I mean, how many The house was packed with students constantly. You saw the noise complaints on the body cam. It was always packed. You can't tell me that you can't tell me a couple of the dudes never got into a fist fight. You can't tell me that somebody didn't drip blood somewhere, bloody nose, this and that. I'm sure there was blood drops all over the place. Hell, when they went and searched Brian Koberger's apartment in Washington State, how many times did you see reddish brown irregular stain listed as items and evidence? I mean, there was so many. There was more reddish brownish irregular stains than there was anything else in that apartment. I'm sure that they looked at every little teeny bit, and maybe it wasn't able to be tested because it had been there so long. There had been so much, people's hands going over it so many times. But then again, when you're sitting there going, how could that not have enough to be tested, but they could test skin cells on a knife sheath? Well, then why couldn't they test liquid blood? Even though it was dried,
And last time I was in chat, I'm sorry, I can't remember who, but somebody said that they had tested enough of it to know that it was male. So
right, yeah. How do they not? Like, how do skin cells, 21 skin cells, you're able to test that, but you can't test dried up liquid blood?
Right.
How in the hell does that? It don't make sense whatsoever. Trust me, Tina, I had started it back in 2023 sometime. I started doing the OJ thing. I made it a couple episodes and then we got slammed. I'm going to restart it again, and because before it was for members only, the OJ series that I was doing, just to try and help people see the similarities. But this time it's not going to be members only. It's going to be for everybody. There's going to be certain episodes that I'm going to do members only, that's like extras, but for the series I'm going to make it available for everybody. Everybody needs to they need to see the similarities before this trial, and I think when everybody notices and sees the similarities, a lot of things are going to make sense. And then it'll basically, the series is going to run all the way up until the trial starts in September. I think it's August now. It was September, but I think it's August now.
Yeah.
Set of variances that would come into play also.
So, Nate, as we try to recall the evidence in this case, we believe that he was dressed in all black, potentially wearing gloves. But if it's unknown male DNA, it wouldn't be any of the victims in the house. The blood would have to be from someone outside of that house, right? Because inside the home, it's women that are living there, young women that are living there, and of course, Ethan would spend time there with Xana.
Right, and we don't even know when the blood was left there. I mean, it's possible that it could have been left there before those students were killed. We don't know the amount of blood that was found on the handrail, but we do know for sure that the prosecutor has said they didn't send that blood into the CODIS network, which is the FBI network where they test things. They haven't explained yet why they did not do that. Of course, this is going to be a big issue that
right, because I'd like to hear that excuse too. I can't wait to hear that excuse, why that was not tested just like the other DNA was tested.
I think I remember hearing from a really long time ago, maybe when that information first came out, I remember Bill Thompson saying that they didn't feel there was a need.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't have it. What they say? It didn't qualify. I was like
that. Something ridiculous.
I was like, how does it not qualify when it's liquid? It's liquid. Like, How does it not qualify? You could okay. It would make sense. Like, well, we couldn't get the touch DNA to qualify, but we did the liquid. Well, yeah. It just I can't wait to hear the reason for that.
Defense raises and already is raising about, why wasn't that tested and who is that unidentified male? But you're right, we don't know the amount on the handrail and we don't know exactly who it belongs to. Could it have been a friend who was visiting a few nights before who, maybe got a bloody nose or, cut their hand while they were cooking? I mean, you could imagine any sort of circumstance where someone might have bled, it got on the rail, and it could potentially have nothing to do with the crime, or it could tie directly to what we're talking about.
Now,
yeah, they just did, like Audrey said, they just didn't want it because it didn't fit. It didn't fit.
Exactly.
When you can have a photo that looks like this, when you can have a photo that looks like this in Moscow, screenshot taken Saturday, November 18th, 2023. Video from 11/18/2023. Remember when I told you guys it got dark at like 4 in the afternoon? Look at what time it is. And you're going to tell me you couldn't get a photo that looked like that? You had to give a stock photo. Be on the lookout for this green car. Yeah, you're gonna release this photo to the public.
For
Just
sure.
like any other criminal investigation. You don't release a stock photo, especially if you have all of this video evidence. And the person that, quote, committed the crime scene drove all over downtown Pullman and downtown Moscow, which would have given you photos that look just like that. Vinny don't want me on. He don't.
Chris McDonough, let's talk about a glove. Because you found a glove there, right? You were there a few days after all of this and spotted this glove, which was on the property of the home. I think we have another image where you can kind of circle it or an arrow so we can see where it is. On the other side of the crime scene tape, tell us the story behind the glove that you found.
Yeah, so that was actually Thanksgiving Day, Vinny, and I was standing, as you can see, on the other side of the barrier tape there, and I looked behind the trash can, and there's that glove sitting right there in that debris. The interesting thing about it is I went back, also looked at some of the earlier news reports, a few days after the crime had occurred, and you can't tell for sure, but there is some footage that appears to show that glove also in that same position. And what I did is I called the on-scene officer over, pointed it out to him, and they subsequently collected it.
Now, when you looked at that glove, and obviously crime scene collected it, but from where you were you able to tell if there was any blood or anything on that glove?
No, unfortunately, you couldn't tell from where I was standing. I couldn't see anything.
Let me ask you, Nate Eaton, do we know if it's this glove that Chris McDonough found or if there's a second glove involved here?
We don't know. They haven't specified which glove it is. Very well could be that glove, could be another glove. It was wintertime when these students were killed. It was quite cold. So we don't know exactly which glove it was or the specific location of where that glove was found.
Now, so Chris, just to give a little more perspective on where the glove that you spotted was found, how would you describe that area relative to the house and relative to how you would get in and out of the house?
So if the theory is that the suspect may have been parked out in front of the house, then if the suspect had come out of that house, it's about 30 feet from the front door going towards the street. And at the time the trash cans were out, so it would be in the direction of travel if that was the theory of where a subject would have been coming from. But again, like Nate said, I don't know if that is the glove that's in reference here, but it certainly did not stick into the environment itself. It stuck out pretty clearly to me as a former homicide guy.
And obviously there's snow on the ground. And I'm trying to remember, Nate, do we know when it snowed? I know it snows all the time in Idaho that time of year, but do we have any idea of when it snowed and whether this would be consistent with having been left there at the time of the murder?
I don't recall the specific weather that night, Vinny, or the next few days. I do know, though, that this was very fresh video that you're showing, that glove, that Chris took the photo of, and there was a bit of snow there. So it wasn't heavy snow. It's not like you had 1 or 2 feet of snow, which is sometimes possible at this time of year. So it looks like, that's just a quarter of an inch of that. But when that snow fell on top of the glove, I don't recall the specific weather forecast.
All right, Nate and Chris are going to help us out throughout the program. Coming up next.
So basically, it wasn't snowing that night. The next day is when it started to snow. So I'm surprised. They were there. They should know this. But that was the weather that took place.
How will the unknown DNA impact?
Like I said, Vinny don't want me on here because I'll be talking DNA, dirty glove, and all the cameras and the PCA route and everything. He don't want me. He wants Gray Hughes, somebody that's going to suck his ass.
The trial.
Is there another explanation here? I've got this sheath, but there are all these other things that if I know about them, matter. What's the other explanation? What's going on with this investigation?
That's right, Ann. DNA, dirty gloves. It's the key to this trial.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Look at his mean mug.
I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because you brought up blood DNA of an unknown individual that was found, I think, on the handrail.
Yes.
Doesn't that necessarily not exclude Mr. Koberg? What it may do is suggest there might be a potential other person in addition involved if you assume that blood was related to the victims and not some earlier event in the house.
If what the court is saying is exactly why the magistrate needed to know that. Is there another explanation here? I've got this sheath, but there are all these other things that if I know about them, matter. What's the other explanation? What's going on with this investigation? What's happening here?
So that's Ann Taylor, who is bringing up the unknown DNA at the scene of this quadruple murder. Blood on a rail inside the home, and then blood on a glove found outside of the home. Now, what we do know is that the knife sheath on the little snap, that's where the suspect's DNA allegedly is. Key part of the prosecution case. But now you've got...
Right, and I can see somebody that's examining the items at the crime scene, photographing the items at the crime scene here. I better open this up too and see if there's something on the inside as well and take a photo.
He's actually demonstrating it very well.
Yes, he is, isn't he? And what hand touches that part? It's the right hand. What hand picked up that nasty ass glove? The right hand.
Mm-hmm.
The right hand. Right here.
That's so awful. Oh
It
my
is.
god. Yeah.
Let me take that out of the way. Yeah. Same hand.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Vinny.
Same hand. Thank you. Yes, Rosie. Thank you, Vinny. I need to, you know what? Let me take a picture of this.
Do it, yeah.
I need to take a
Perfect.
of Vinny holding this. We're gonna save that. We're gonna save that for a thumbnail coming up in the future.
Of the prosecution case. Now
Thank you,
you've got
Vinny.
2 samples of unknown male DNA that hasn't been tested. They haven't figured out whose it is. So here's the question. We know pre-trial they're trying to use this to exclude evidence, but the next question in our investigation, probably even more significant, because I don't think that evidence is going to be eliminated. How will the unknown DNA impact the trial? Right? How is that going to play? How will it impact the jury, the defense, the argument?
How will this impact the jury? Oh boy. I can't wait. Find out more tonight.
The prosecution, everything else. Still with me, Nate Eaton, and joining me, you know him,
What's
folks,
up,
criminal
Collateral?
defense attorney, former prosecutor, led the high-profile, successful defense of George Zimmerman, and that's just the tip of the iceberg with the people that he's represented successfully. Mark O'Mara is with us. Mark, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Let me ask you this, Mark, off the top, like how 0 to 10 for this defendant, how big is the evidence that there are 2 samples of unknown male DNA, one outside, one inside a home that is occupied primarily, almost exclusively by women who live there? You know, sometimes a guy may stay there or visit.
Oh, it's probably a good 7. And the reason why is we can never forget that a criminal trial is nothing other than a question of whether or not the state has proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt to each and every one of those jurors. So that's the standard that we start with. And then in a case where there's just circumstantial evidence, Vinny, as you said earlier, this is a circumstantial evidence case. It's a unique term. What that means under the law is that when there's not direct evidence, but it's circumstantial, then the state's presentation has to exclude every reasonable hypothesis of innocence. That's sort of the way.
Right. And Aaliyah, when it comes to the dirty DNA, that's going to have to be in trial. That part won't come until trial. So even though we've seen the dirty DNA gloves, we know how powerful the dirty DNA gloves are. We know what it's going to do to this trial when the dirty DNA gloves get introduced. That's when stuff is going to start getting thrown out the way.
So essentially, they're saving it for when it matters most.
Well,
right?
It's like, okay, so with the court hearings, what she was trying to do was trying to get the procedure tossed. You know, they didn't follow the procedure, so we want to get it tossed. They're trying to get it tossed pre-trial. But when it comes to the dirty DNA gloves, it's during trial when that will get introduced to show the contamination that could possibly be taking place before any of the other items at the crime scene were investigated. So they're not going to argue that in the pre-trial. That will be argued in the trial. But once it gets argued in the trial, when you're talking about contamination before they even went into the crime scene, and then they took that contamination and then investigated and documented the crime scene, because those people that have the contamination are the ones that have to document the crime scene and the items in the crime scene before they go get tested. So every kind of evidence that takes place after that contamination, reasonable doubt. So that's when it will get argued. And yes, it'll make for a great appeal, but I don't even think it'll get that far. Because when they see this, it's reasonable doubt, 0.01% reasonable doubt. Well, if you didn't keep contamination out of it before you even went in there, well, then how do we know that any of this evidence that was tested thereafter is not contaminated as well? That's why it's so powerful when it comes to the trial.
Way we look at it. And when you look at that context, now we have, Vinny, I know you've done before and I've done before, what we call the Saudi defense, SODDI. Some other dude did it. And when you throw all of that into this mix, it's going to be very significant because the defense doesn't need to show anything other than the state has not proven the case properly to their jury. And this evidence is very significant because it shows an unknown. We know reasonable doubt can come from the evidence itself, lack of evidence or conflict in the evidence, and now we've thrown into the mix two other guys potentially who probably are not Brian Kohberger.
Now, let me ask you, Nate, there's been no testing at all of this unknown DNA?
Yeah, the prosecutors, well, no CODIS testing. They haven't sent it to the FBI lab. Whether they've done other sort of testing, we're unaware of. We do know that they sent that knife sheath, the thing, you were just holding up, and that is how they were able to track down Brian Kohberger. And the defense is going to make a big deal that, one, it hasn't been tested, but two, they're also arguing that evidence of the unknown males, that was never brought to the attention of the original magistrate judge who issued the arrest warrant. So they're saying because the judge did not have that information, Brian Kohberger should not have been arrested. There could have been other potential suspects out there. An attorney here in Idaho said they're going to really nail this and, quote, muddy the waters. That's how they're describing it, to make it clear that everyone thinks it might be Kohberger because of that knife sheath, but what about these other guys? And what about this evidence that hasn't been tested?
All right, Mark O'Mara, let me ask you this. They are claiming that he's innocent in court. Would you test it yourself? Find out whether it's through CODIS or
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't test all DNA? Like, who wouldn't? It makes absolutely no sense. You have, and you know it's male. You tested it enough to know it's male. Why would you not do any further testing?
If I were working on that scene and I found something like that, even just near the house, down the road, I would test it. Like, everything matters. It makes no sense. Like, I'm baffled by this.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with a DP. Like, it's about the justice for these victims. You exhaust all measures, all avenues, all measures to make sure if you're supposed to color a picture, you're not gonna just color the hat and the socks. You got to color the whole thing. You got to do it all. You don't just do part of it. It's incomplete.
Through genetic genealogy, would you take those samples and do anything and everything you could to track down whose DNA it is from the defense side here?
Well, first of all, we do not have any obligation like that. I don't like the idea of doing any of the states' work for them, but let's face it, it is now an issue. I think it's incumbent upon the state to go now find out who that is. Whoever
what if
that
they don't? What if they don't? Would you say, well, they're not going to do it? Well, then I'll do it, Your Honor. Would you?
He just said no.
It's a little arrogant. You have to be careful playing outside what you need to do, coloring outside the lines a little bit. But yes, if there's evidence out there, absolutely. Because here's the thing. We know that they have Kohberger's evidence, the DNA, on one thing. If there are two other people out there or one other person out there, they call them unknown B and D. That indicates to me that they've decided it's not the same blood sampling. Don't know how that's happened yet, but it seems to be that way, potentially. Yeah, I might take that shot. Now, don't forget, you get an opportunity as the defense to maybe get a part of that DNA and do it somewhat under the defense protection, right? That work product. I don't see it happening that way, but I cannot imagine the government going to trial in this case without having done everything that they could possibly do to get those blood splatters or blood tests done.
And looking at where it was found in this case, a glove and on a railing, how significant is that? And do you think the defense will tell a story based upon where it's found and how it's found?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if we have a glove and it has blood that is not Koberger's, that's extraordinarily significant, because part of the reason why there's not a whole bunch of other evidence there is the argument that somebody was using a glove, somebody was protecting their own DNA from being found. So blood that is not Koberger's on a glove, I think, is extraordinarily significant. That would go from a 7 to a 9 at least. And the handrail is somewhat significant. Again, whichever one it might be, it is suggestive that somebody was bleeding, at least a little bit, going up there. If it's not Koberger, then the question again remains, who is it? Because if it's not Koberger, then there's somebody else who maybe should be charged in this case besides him.
And Nate, the defendant here, not only saying not guilty, claiming his innocence, I think they've used that word, not just not guilty, but innocence, has an alibi or has claimed an alibi for that night.
Yeah, he says he was out looking at the stars, that he wasn't anywhere near the crime scene. His cell phone was off. There was no tracking. But remember, Vinny, the next day it was turned back on and it did track near the home where this happened. And going back to the point with the...
See, that's one thing that drives me nuts when they report this, is they report it that he was near the home, and that's not what's stated. What's stated is that his cell phone connected to the tower that services 1122. Two completely different things. And I don't know why they keep saying it, that he was near the home.
Exactly. And they blur a lot of things as well. Even like just the term stargazing, like that, where did that even come from? Like, it's not what was said. I feel like there's a lot of times where they want things to be as ambiguous as possible, because using a cell tower doesn't actually, it means that you're you're encompassed in a space. It doesn't mean that you're at a particular point.
No, you can be in Washington and connect to the tower that services 1122. These are a lot of the words that are being used by mainstream media. The stargazing, he was near the home, he pinged near the home. All of these different things are statements and words that are being used by mainstream media, which I don't understand, because if you read the court documents, it tells you what it says.
Yeah, it's being sensationalized, I think, quite badly.
It can be promoting two different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
When you're saying, it's one thing to say that they are next to the house. It's another thing to say that they connected to the tower that services the home. And then you look at the tower range and you're like, oh, wow, it's two completely different stories. Oh, they ping next to the house, or they pinged to the tower that connects to the house, but they were still in Washington. Well, that's two completely different stories. One puts them in Washington, one puts them in Idaho. Two completely different stories. I don't understand it. Don't understand it. By the way, we'll be back at around 7 o'clock tonight. We're going to be reading through them. Yoli, Audrey, Kathy. We've all read the docs. We're going to bring them to you tonight. And we got a lot of interesting things to say with everything that is included in them, and hopefully Rosie can join us tonight as well. And if you're not subscribed, I'll drop her link again. Go sub up to her.
With the glove and the DNA and whatnot, I just wonder if the prosecution is going to continually nail the fact that that sheath was found under Maddie's body and comfort her there on her bed, and that it did link to the to Brian Kohlberger. I mean that's pretty strong, I would imagine.
That is, to me, that is the absolute foundation of this case, and it might be tough without it. Nate's going to stay with us. Mark O'Mara, great to see you. Thank you so much. I know your time's valuable. We appreciate it. Up next, whose DNA is it?
Damn,
this
that's
is the
loud.
Court TV podcast.
Is that loud for you? Because that's loud as hell for me.
Yeah, it is, and they make it louder at the end.
Oh my gosh. It's like, bah, 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 bah. Mean mug. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, here we
I
go.
always jump at the end like I get a fright.
Freaking mean mugs, man. All right, here we go.
We continue our investigation of the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. It's a circumstantial case that includes some very compelling evidence, but the defendant is still proclaiming his innocence, and it is set to be a huge trial right here on Court TV. Here's the story. 4 students were brutally murdered in their home near the University of Idaho. Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana were great people with amazing futures that were taken away by a monster. The man accused of this horrific crime has denied doing it and has proclaimed his innocence. There is no eyewitness, no confession, and no direct evidence. It's a prosecution built on circumstantial evidence, which prosecutors believe is compelling, including DNA on a knife sheath found at the scene of the crime. But it's not the only DNA that's been recovered, as there is other DNA from unknown males found near the scene. DNA, big part of this case, the foundation of the prosecution, but could be very important for the defense when you talk about this unknown male DNA. Let's take a listen to the accused's attorney, Ann Taylor, and the judge talking about this evidence.
As to Mr. Kohlberger, now, there may be, as you say, other people that creates concern or issues about that need to be investigated further. But I'm not sure that that diminishes the probable cause as to Mr. Kohlberger if his DNA is found on a knife sheath found on or near the victim who was stabbed with said alleged knife that would have been in said alleged sheath.
I think the most prominent question is, how did that sheath get there? And I think when you ask that question, I think you can have DNA on an object at a scene when you know about all of these other things and you don't find probable cause, because there are more questions than there are answers. And all of a sudden, this one thing doesn't look as big. It doesn't look as everything pointing to it when you have the context around it. The magistrate didn't have to have every detail of the case, but knowing how many attempts to find a DNA connection there were, and it didn't exist in Brian's car, in Brian's apartment, that there's no other DNA in there other than an unknown male B that we know of for sure, an unknown male D outside.
And especially when there's the unknown, how do they know that that wasn't an accomplice? I mean, think about the statement he said. Was there anybody else that got arrested? Man, he's looking so skinny at this last court hearing compared to the ones, a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's scary, actually.
He's looking really frail
Yeah.
compared to the 2023 court hearings. And
Yeah, he doesn't look.
even the ones from like last summer, he didn't seem that frail. It's recently, the last couple months.
Yeah.
I mean, he just
Yeah, he looks good as well.
just the last couple months. Breezy's got a question, but yeah, but look at his face. Here, let me show you a photo here. Let me see here. Let me go here. Actually, I mean, hell, look at let me see. Look at this photo. Let me pull it up. Here. This is one that I use for the thumbnail. And then I'll show you a different photo too. So here's one I use for the thumbnail. Not very frail. Here's another one. Is it going to show it? Hold on one second. Here's a better one. This is this is a straight on. This is an even better one. All right. You see, look, you know what I'm saying? Not very frail.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's wearing the vest. But look at the face. That's what I'm talking about. The face, the cheeks. You know what I'm saying? The face and the cheeks. And then you go back to this. And it's like, whoa. Look at the cheeks. He's got a longer face now. Yeah, ever since he moved to Ada County.
True.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows what? I would have thought it would have been the other way around. Him in Moscow, he would have looked like that, and then Ada maybe looked like the first picture, but
Yeah. Because people said he looked better on the picture right after he was transferred custody, when he just arrived. So you can see, like, it's from then that there's been a change, because he almost doesn't look like the same person, and he doesn't look 30 either. Like,
that's when he arrived. That's when he arrived at Idaho.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and you got the other one with the bulletproof, just the bulletproof vest. He didn't have a shirt underneath that one. That's when he got arrested in Pennsylvania. Pretty much looked the same, you know. But yeah, you're looking at these photos, and it doesn't have such a long face. But then you look at this, and you're like, man, he looks frail, like real frail. Like his suit jacket has built-in shoulder pads in it, you know?
Yeah.
Like his shoulders shouldn't be that, I don't know, it's just noticed it.
Okay. So these arguments are by the defense in an attempt pre-trial to get something done, to get charges dismissed, to get evidence excluded. It's not going to happen. Okay? Let me clear it. It's not going to happen in this case. The knife sheath, the DNA found on the snap, it's all going to be admitted. Now, don't forget the story behind this DNA, which has also been litigated. They ran the DNA through CODIS. Didn't get any hits because the suspect who was arrested, the defendant, had no prior arrests. His DNA was not in the system. So then they went to genetic genealogy. And through that, plus putting it together with the other pieces here, we're able to zero in on the defendant and ended up getting his DNA. And his DNA, once they swabbed him after arresting him, then matched here. But what about the other DNA? What about it? Brings us to the next question in our investigation. Whose DNA is it? Whose could it be? What do you need to know? How do you figure it out? Joining me, news director at EastIdahoNews.com. Been covering this case since the beginning. Nate Eaton is with us, and the laboratory director for Pure Gold Forensics. She has more than 20 years of experience in DNA analysis. Forensic DNA expert Susanna Ryan.
Yeah, like Beckles brings up a great point too. Like here's his, even in Ada County, you know, basically he looks the same as the pictures that I showed, but then you add some beard stubble. You know,
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
He looks the same. You know what I'm saying? Like you just add some beard stubble. Totally different. Totally different with any of these.
Okay. Suzanne, I'm going to start with you on this. 2 samples. Apparently they're both blood. One from a handrail, one from a glove. Handrail inside, the glove outside of the home. What are you going to do? How are you going to extract it? How are you going to test it? What is the process for taking those samples and trying to figure out who they belong to?
Well, we're getting a profile. So we know that there's a profile, 2 unknown male profiles. So that means there was enough DNA. They're able to get a profile. Then the next step is trying to compare that profile to, first, you'd want to compare it to anyone in the house, anyone that had known access to the house, and see if that person can be included or excluded. And actually, it seems that at that point, that's where this sort of investigation into whose DNA is that, it stopped, right? Because they've already stated that these profiles were not entered into CODIS. So they were deemed ineligible for CODIS for, I'm not sure what reason, but they're not being put into CODIS. And
what are the reasons? Are there reasons based on what the sample is and the information you got from the sample that would prevent you from checking with CODIS, or do you think it's more of just an investigatory decision because they have DNA from the knife sheath?
I think it could be a little bit of both. So the FBI controls the CODIS database. They maintain the database, and they have some very strict rules about what sort of profile is eligible for upload. So for example, we don't ever want to inadvertently upload a victim's DNA profile. We don't want to upload what we would call an elimination sample. So someone else that had legitimate access to that home. So it is possible that because this house was, it sounds pretty kind of open. Lots of people in and out, and maybe they're not entirely sure that these bloodstains are associated with the crime. So they're deeming them, for that reason, ineligible for upload. However, I find this a little bit problematic because, we had an unknown male profile on the knife sheath. And so, yes, that's obviously associated with a weapon and definitely going to be eligible for upload. But if we didn't have that, I can guarantee you that these unknown male profiles would be considered eligible for upload.
Yeah, they would have to be eligible for upload. They could be accomplices. You don't know. You have to exclude. This is why this is crazy to me. How they didn't qualify. We heard they didn't qualify in the summer of 2023. They didn't qualify. We're sitting there going, what do you mean it didn't qualify? What do you mean? Doesn't make sense.
Searched. And so it is surprising to me that they're not at least taking that one additional step. Let's put it into CODIS and see if it matches. Because now you have this big question of, well, whose DNA is this?
Yeah, I don't like unanswered questions. I'm a former prosecutor. Nate, Susanna was talking about.
He's a former prosecutor. And I got so many photos, but I got to bring it up again because it's so hilarious. Hold on, I got to find it. Where's it at? Right here. You know what I'm going to do.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Right here.
We know.
Yeah. DJ Vinny, baby. That's going to be a thumbnail soon, too.
On the house, let's take a look at this. Some of the TikTok videos give us an idea of some of the activity inside the home.
Only when I ain't in bed on my own, and I wake up at night. Did anybody do their chores today? And disappear right after the song.
It's crazy seeing all these videos. Brings me back to the... Yeah, there's that guy. I told you. That's the guy that was going around having video. Remember that picture I showed you guys earlier? Yeah. That's the guy that was going around pretending to stab people.
Oh my goodness.
And he had a knife with him in some of the videos, too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I need to find those videos. Look at. I need to find those videos of this guy he had a knife too. Oh my gosh.
That is weird.
I have so much shit scattered all over.
And here, another one of the videos you can see, people over the house, some sort of a social event, a party. Nate, from your reporting, I mean, it's a typical college house, right? There's a lot of people coming in and out, and I would presume parties.
All the time, Vinny. All the time. I mean, how many college...
Oh, yeah, Katrina, the body cams. I mean, hell, all the body cams that they had out, you could see, hell, there was times that they showed up for noise complaints back then, and they had to call the roommates. They had to call them. Check out, we did a body cam deep dive back then. We went through all the different body cams and the noise complaints, and even showed you how they treated females, drunk females, separating them from their boyfriends and then making them walk down dark streets all by themselves on these body cams. It was ridiculous. It was hard to do that body cam deep dive back then because you were seeing how they treated these young females and just taking photos of their driver's license, making them separate from their boyfriend. We're going to go ahead and make sure she gets home safely. And then they send her walking down a dark road by herself. I mean, oh my gosh, it was horrible watching it. It was horrible. Oh my gosh, it makes you mad because it's like, man, if that was my girlfriend and you sat there and you told me, no, just go ahead and leave. We'll make sure she gets home safe. And then you let her walk down a road that's dark all by herself, bro, we got problems. We got some big problems if that's my woman that you did that to. Making me leave. Telling me that you're going to keep her safe and make sure she gets home. And then you send her down a dark road by herself, intoxicated. Yeah, we're going to have some words. It's ridiculous how they treated them in those body cams.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah, you could see how every time they showed up, the houses were full. That's when we started discussing Emma and Demetrius, if you guys remember that, all the way back then, discussing Emma, because that's when we came across Emma on one of the noise complaints for the house parties. Wait a minute, that's Emma. Walking by, leaving as they were walking up. trying to get out of there.
College kids get home from class and they walk into their home and they don't know who a person is there because they're there to see another roommate. And this was a weekend and things were busy. So you could imagine it really could have been anybody. Someone could have gone up to that third floor and had a hangnail that maybe was bleeding a little bit and it got on the handrail. And somebody could have been wearing a glove outside if it was a cold winter night and, even had, chafed skin that was bleeding a little bit and it got on the glove. So, really, what Susanna was saying, I think, is interesting. The fact that I would imagine you would want to get those items tested just to rule out people that you could, or to try to figure out who they belonged to. And maybe the prosecution, has a theory as to why they didn't do it, or they have some other sort of testing that they have planned down the line, whatever it is. That is the big question. But yeah, it's a college house. It's a fun time. People are coming and going, a lot of people in and out. It could really be any guy that visited the home.
Absolutely. Susanna, Ryan, thank you so much. Always appreciate your insight. Nate's going to stay with us. Still to come, does the case against the suspected killer rely solely on the DNA?
When there's a DNA
Oh my gosh, that's so loud.
between the DNA and the sheath and Mr. Koberger.
Oh man, that's so loud.
Isn't that probable cause every day and twice on Sunday?
Yeah, that's what Stacy Chapin referred to in her new interview from last night. I dropped the video late last night. Check it out.
Include a finding of probable cause when there's a DNA match between the DNA and the sheath and Mr. Koberger. Isn't that probable cause every day and twice on Sunday?
Not in this context. Not in this context, because of the IgG work. Because that's the ultimate question that will be before a jury. What does that mean, right? What does a knife sheath at a scene mean? That's going to be the ultimate question.
Oh, damn straight, Aaliyah. You could tell when you were watching those body cam videos back then. Like I said, I think we did all of them in 2 episodes. We went through all of the different body cams and noise complaints because I wanted to show exactly what you put in there. They were predators, Aaliyah. Because when you watched all of those body cams put together and you saw how they treated just a few females. There was so many females. There was so many males. There was a lot of people in these body cams. The way that they treated a specific few, it was very predatorish, if that's even a word. You actually felt bad because, coming from me, who's a guy that always gives females ultimate respect, and I'm sitting there seeing this kind of foolery taking place, I'm going, wow, man, these are the people that are supposed to protect our ladies, and these are the ones that are taking advantage of our ladies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you went through that before I was around because I don't remember seeing that one, but I'm almost afraid to watch it now.
Yeah, this was in all this stuff because we were getting all this stuff December of 22, January of 23, going through all of that. A lot of it we went through the spring and summer of 23. 23 was a humongous year for coming out with information and breaking shit down and really just exposing a lot of stuff because you see a lot of the stuff and then you just want to keep digging even more. And then once you start to see it all, you're just like, this is how we get to the opinions that we have today, is because of everything that we've kind of gone through before, and being out there really brought a whole bunch of awareness to it because just being out there and seeing and talking to those people, it even helped even figure out where to go for the exposure, because a lot of those people kind of gave you little pieces of the puzzle, and then when you start doing your digging and you start putting it all together, then it was like, man, this, you basically see how everything worked. You see what gears moved when, and how it was oiled and maintained, and you see this whole network of operations that are all working uh, together in order to be able to have what they have going there, which is nothing but corruption. I mean, it starts from the top down with all of the hell, when we were exposing the frickin' the deal when University of Idaho was trying to buy the University of Phoenix online. You know, they were almost
Yeah.
getting ready to sign and sign that over and hurry up and sign it. And then it's like, no, we got to bring pressure to this, because they're about to sign some shit that they don't even know. And thank God that thing fell apart, because that would have done nothing but cost the taxpayers and the local people that don't get to flourish and benefit from the university's wealth. They don't get to benefit from it. And so they would have had to carry the burden while the university was able to keep making more money. It's just all these different things that they're in the middle of nowhere, and they've been doing stuff a certain way for so long, and they've never had the national media. They've never had a million eyeballs looking at them. They've never had people digging into how they do things up there. And now they do. And when you're talking about people that aren't in the middle of nowhere, that need shit happening to it, that can apply common sense.
It's cutting out again. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll get back to the video. Who knows? It's this damn internet, probably.
Sorry.
Question. You're
Killed by a knife, that probably means a lot.
it might.
It means a lot. It really means a lot. Especially the IgG, the investigative genetic
face.
genealogy that was done from the DNA that was gotten from this snap on the knife sheath. Like, this is so significant. If this thing is not at the scene, if that knife sheath is not at the scene, I don't know what happens here. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. Does the case against the accused killer rely solely on the DNA?
What's up, Anna?
Is that the whole case? Still with me, Nate Eaton, and joining me, former homicide detective, host of the Interview Room with Chris McDonough. It's Chris McDonough. All right, I want to show you guys this first, because I think we need to.
Hold on, I called him Chris McDonough. Who? Hold on a minute. McDonough. Yeah, that's McDonough. Because I'm like, wait a minute, I called him McDonough. McDonough. What's up? Yeah, McDonough. McDonough. If you're gonna be up tonight, check it out tonight. We'll be around 7 o'clock Central. Myself, Yoli Yolaw, Audrey C's DNA podcast, Kathy's Indie Zone podcast. We've all read the documents. We're going to be discussing them tonight with you all and adding our commentary. So if you'll be up, come back and check it out tonight. The link's already there. And make sure you have the notification bell set to all. That way you get the notification. And then if you don't, because you know YouTube, it's all buggy, just come back and see what page we're on. We're going to try and read all 175 tonight. If we can't get through it all tonight, We'll be finishing up the next night, but we're going to be bringing all of the knowledge, and we're going to be reading these pages, and that way you can hang out and we can discuss all of the stuff together. Like I said, most of it is going to be stuff that we've known since June, July of 23, but the little tidbits that you don't know, it's some wild shit, y'all. And I can't wait to get into it with you all tonight.
All right, I want to show you guys this first because I think we need to establish this part of it. Gray Hughes from YouTube, Gray Hughes Investigates, on the show and talking about another piece of evidence in this case. Let's take a look.
And look what time it is, 4:07 and 41 seconds or so. And he parked at 4:08, all right? And then at 4:08, probably exits the vehicle sometime after that. And then at 4:20, it leaves at a high rate of speed. But interestingly, in between 4:08 and 4:20, a knife sheath was left inside the house on Madison Mogan's bed that contained the DNA of Brian Koberger, who also drives a 2015 white Elantra.
So how does he know that the sheath was left there between 4 and 4:23 when the sheath could have been there the whole time, because it could have been one of the victims for protection? This
just
guy,
filling in details.
this guy, he gets mad at people when they don't donate. He like harasses them. It's crazy, wild shit. Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen it?
I haven't watched him before.
Yeah, I watched a couple of his episodes a few years ago, and I was like, holy shit, man, this dude like harasses his people for donations. It's wild.
That's always the sign that's the
It's
problem.
wild, man. It's wild shit. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
So let's talk about it. When we were all covering this story when it first broke, and there was a search for a killer, it was all about the white Elantra, Nate. And we had no idea that this IgG was being used. We had no idea about the DNA at the time. It was all about, does anyone recognize this car? Does anyone know about this white Elantra? And we figured that was the key to solving the case, figure out who drives the Elantra. So how significant do you think, Nate, the Elantra is in this case versus the DNA on the knife sheath?
Well, I don't know if one will be more significant than the other. You would think that the DNA would, but that white Elantra did play a big part. I remember when the police released those videos and they were asking people to call for help. Anybody driving a white Elantra was on alert, worried that they could be called in. We don't know what other things they have, Vinny. I mean, there will be things that come out of this trial that will shock us, evidence that hasn't been presented, as it happens in every trial. We know bits and pieces. Prosecutors don't like to lay out their entire case before the trial happens, but I would imagine that a significant portion will rely on that sheath, that knife sheath that was found there, especially the location of it. It wasn't like found outside the house. It wasn't down the street. It wasn't in the kitchen. It was on Maddie's bed, the bed where she was killed. And it was the sheath that would house, as the judge said, the knife. Pretty significant if you're stabbed to that.
And by the way, the first suspect vehicle was a Sentra, 2019 to 2023. New York Times article link is in the video description, and I read through the article. That's actually the first vehicle they were looking for.
So I think it will be significant, but I think there's a lot of other evidence that we don't even know about tonight that will come into play.
Chris McDonough, do you think there would even have been an arrest without that DNA? Do you think they could have caught him?
Vinny, I think they were on the trail of Koberger at the time, obviously with, who had a white Elantra in the area, in the environment. And then, of course, you start playing into the digital footprint and, the phone pings and the CAS team from the FBI getting involved. There's technology today. One of the technologies that a lot of people are not aware of, it's called Gladiator. And it's an FBI technology that you can actually put a phone really right where you need it to be if that individual was in that circle. And I think we get a clue as to how much evidence they may have by the fact that the prosecution has presented, 25 experts. They've revealed 25 experts, and the defense is challenging 22 of them. So that's going to tell us a whole bunch. I mean, you know that more than anybody in your experience.
Now, there's also a quasi-witness, I would say, not someone who saw the actual murders, but someone who we believe saw the killer. One of the roommates who survived all of this. This is from the probable cause affidavit. DM, that's the roommate, stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5 feet 10 or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. Now, that seems significant, but I want you to take a listen to Ann Taylor talk about that witness.
Remember, the issue was whether or not one of the victims ran downstairs, and she didn't say it once. She said it 4 times in a row in the very first interview, and that just didn't happen. It just couldn't have happened, and that was not told. In fact, that statement was brushed over and withheld from the magistrate. About the memory issues in the second interview the same day, there are 2 references to not remembering. A couple of days later, there's the third interview, and there's references to not remembering, being drunk, a statement, I don't know any of it. Like half this stuff, I don't know if it's a dream or if it's real. That's at page 399. At page 406, I don't know if this was real or in my mind was just like playing with me. But from what I think I heard, someone was crying in the bathroom.
The simple answer is investigators knew what she saw was real. And we know it wasn't a dream because they found the evidence discovered the next morning. That general description would
That sounds really attitudey. I don't know. Is it maybe just me?
No, it is not just you. That is sarcastic.
Little tootish.
Mhm.
Beach Bell contribution call out for the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, CJ and Rosie. Great show. Hopefully, I will see you tonight. If not, I will definitely catch replay. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. And let me throw this up there for you too real quick. Hey, listen, it might, like I said, it might end up being like a 5-some-hour show. And I'm going to try and do it to where you can come back to it and break it up in different parts. There's going to be a lot of pages to read. There's going to be a lot. I mean, we've all read them. That's going to be up there tonight. We've all read them. And we're all going to have our own little things to say. So like I said, most of it is going to be, the majority of it really is stuff that we already know about, have known about the last couple years. We're obviously not going to commentate a lot on that stuff because we've already done it for 2 years. It's the stuff that's different from what we know and have known this whole time that we're going to commentate, and you're not going to want to miss that, trust me. And also, contribution call out. Let me hold up before I throw that on the screen. Bree Breezy, thank you so much. Jackie O, Suzanne, Heather, Marie, and Lindsay all got a gifted membership. Thank you so much, Breezy. Appreciate it. And let me throw this up there for you guys. Contribution call out. Thank you so much. But yes, I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, such a tootie. It reminds me of like Bill Thompson in the very beginning. Remember in the first couple court hearings ever that they had, He literally would like stand up and like wave his notebook and slam his notebook and stuff. I mean, the dude in the first couple court hearings, the dude was going batshit, and it was nuts. And now we're seeing Ashley kind of getting the tootie going as well.
Yeah, she also sounds like she's like really making that up, like trying to figure out what to say as she goes along. She's like trying to find the words.
Well, yes, they knew what happened. They knew somebody come in and committed the crime, but when somebody's giving you different statements, okay, you got to think about it like this. What if somebody said, "Yeah, my daughter or my son walked out of the house at 10. They walked out of the house at 10:30. They walked out of the house at 11. I don't know what time they walked out of the house." Are you going to sit there and say, "Well, yeah, they walked out of the house at 10:30"? You don't know. When there's different statements that are being given to you, yes, you know somebody committed the crime. But how do you know that she saw the person? When she said she didn't even know, it could be a dream. Who says that she wasn't? I mean, come on. Remember the blast from the past? This guy right here? Hold on, I gotta find it. There's so many photos. This guy, blast from the past. Who says she didn't drink? Who says she wasn't intoxicated and didn't dream that this person that was dressed like this was there? Just because you dream it doesn't mean that maybe she came across this. She probably did, because I'm sure she probably seen the dude wearing the outfit before. So if you're hearing something and you're dreaming something, who says that you didn't? Well, I don't know if it was real or not. I dreamed. So I don't see how she can sit here and say, well, obviously we know that it was real, because even if it was a dream, we know that it would. No, you don't. You don't know that. You don't know that for sure. When somebody's making difference, it's just like Sebastian Rogers' case. We're talking about all the different statements that they made. Too many inconsistencies. I think her connection's dropping. We're going to be ending here soon in a few minutes. Like I said, we'll be back tonight. We're going to be having special guests. Definitely, you don't want to miss that. And definitely check out the replay. And I know it's probably going to be a really long episode, but it's meant for you to be able to take it in chunks. There's going to be a lot in that episode.
Which is what was provided in the PC affidavit, was consistent throughout all of her interviews. She described seeing someone wearing all black, a mask with only a portion of their face showing and visible. This person was male, white. She heard a voice that was not something that she recognized. The person was a slim, skinny, lean build. And the person was taller than she is around 5'8".
Nate Eaton, one thing that the prosecutor doesn't mention there, which all of us jumped on, was the description of the eyebrows. Like that was, to me, that was a big part, because his face was covered, whoever it was, but the eyebrows at one point at least were described in the affidavit as bushy eyebrows.
I mean, you want to talk about bushy eyebrows? The picture the old picture. You're gonna tell me? Listen, I'm telling you, those are bushy eyebrows when I'm looking at him with a mask on.
Mm-hmm. Those are impressive.
Look, you barely even have anything up here.
And you can see that in the dock. That's how bushy the eyebrows are.
These bushy eyebrows.
How significant, how important do you think the roommate's testimony will be?
And how many people have bushy eyebrows too? Come on, it's not just a couple.
No, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And think of people that have been through trauma for the defense to say, oh, she changed her story. She doesn't remember this or that or whatever. Well, a traumatic, horrific event has just happened. She could have been scared.
Well, yeah, I mean, hell, we knew back in, if you guys remember in the beginning, remember Paradise Path? Hell, before Koberger was even arrested, there was reports of somebody on Paradise Path dressed in black with a mask, with a backpack, threatening people with a knife. That's why in the first couple weeks that this crime happened, I sat there and I saw the path that somebody would take on Paradise Path and how they could get to 1122. That was before any of this Koberger stuff. Paradise Path. If you don't remember, if you don't know about it, look it up. Paradise Path. Multiple people reporting somebody dressed in black with a backpack and a mask threatening people with a knife. And when they would show up, the person would already be gone. And guess what? No report. That's who I thought of when it first happened, was the person on Paradise Path.
Of course.
That's when I was like, yeah, they probably took a bike. That was my very first theory within the first 3 weeks of this crime taking place. Was the person on Paradise Path? Yeah, because I was telling people, who's gonna listen? I was telling people, yeah, they got a backpack. They're taking a bike. They park the bike in the back of the house next to the trees. They go and commit the crime. They're wearing all black. They're riding their bike. I was even looking up apartment housing for students off of Paradise Path, because I'm sitting there telling people, who's going to notice anybody that has blood all over them that's dressed in black riding a bike at night? Ain't nobody going to notice. They ain't going to say, hey, look at that guy riding that bike that has blood all over him. They ain't going to be able to tell if he's wearing all black. So he could have been riding his bike, going back to student housing, nobody looking over twice because it's another student riding a bike to get back home to his apartment. Paradise Path. This was just weeks before the crime took place. I totally forgot about that whole damn theory from the first couple weeks and that damn Paradise Path stuff.
I think it was in one of the screenshots I sent you recently as well with the police reports.
Oh, was it?
Let me check. I'll let you know. Hold on.
Yeah, I think they took it down. It's missing off the website now, I believe. It's been missing off their website. When did they take it off? It was 2023 sometime. Maybe December of 23, maybe November of 23 is when I think they took it off. Because they They had a whole bunch of those incident reports up there. You could literally go through them, all of the incident reports every single day that were coming out and had come out in the past. And then they started removing stuff, and that was one of them. I thought, wasn't it? I could have swore that was one of them they removed.
It might be. I screenshot it really long ago. I'm just looking through what I sent you, and I'll let you know if I see it. I think it is there.
Yeah, send it to me in Discord if you find it. I know I have it somewhere, but who knows where it's at. I gotta organize my files, but Paradise Path, man. Yeah, I totally forgot about that bike path. I think I made a short video about it back then too.
For her life, of course, she's not going to remember every single detail. That will be the witness that will answer a lot of questions, we hope, we think. But also, Vinny, there's other witnesses we don't even know about. Are there people who saw Koberger that night, at a gas station or at a grocery store or whatever that we don't know about, that they're going to call to the stand, that won't talk at all about DNA, but we'll talk about what they observed that evening when they saw him. That is a possibility that we could see. So the roommate testimony going to be huge. And we haven't heard from her. She has not spoken publicly to anybody.
Yeah. Chris, do you agree?
Yeah, I think the impact is also she's going to put one person in that house.
That is extremely significant, right?
Yeah, I want to know what Bethany's going to say. That's what I want to know. What does Bethany have to say when it comes to her? I don't care about Dylan's multiple statements. I don't care about those. I want to know what Bethany Funk has to say when it comes to these eyewitness accounts. Remember, Jay Logston came out in March of 23 and said that Bethany Funk holds exculpatory evidence that is her own experience that nobody else can offer, that is unique to the situation, that exonerates Brian Koberger. What is Bethany Funk's eyewitness accounts? I don't care about Dylan's. All right, Rosie, we're going to go ahead and end the show this morning. Thank you all for being here. Please hit the like if you haven't yet. We're going to be going into the transcript of the redacted hearing this evening with special guests, and hopefully you'll be able to join too. If not, it's no worries, Rosie. I know it's a weird ass time for you.
I'll probably be late if I do, but thank you so much for having me over now, and I'm so sorry about all the technical issues that I've been having.
No, and sorry about mine. It's probably the cold weather and the ice and all that other stuff, so I apologize if my shit cuts out every so often. If only technology would be perfect, it would be a perfect world. Unfortunately,
of course,
you gotta deal with half-ass stuff. But we'll go ahead and end the show, and we'll end it on this note: the DNA dirty, inexperienced, incompetent people investigating the crime. We'll end it on this note. And if you missed any of it, definitely check out the beginning. We went through a lot of stuff, and we'll be going through a hell of a lot more. And like I said, I'll be starting that OJ series for the public, not just members only. And I'll be having different special guests for that as well. And that'll take us all the way to the trial. Hope you all have a peaceful, positive day. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it very much. And we will see you this evening. And thank you again, Rosie. If you're not subbed up to Rosie, go sub up. Here's your link.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you. Oh, there's a glove. There's a hey, there's a glove. There's a glove. Let me get some more clean ones.
Doesn't
Yeah,
get old.
we'll stuff those in my pocket. It don't get old, does it, Rosie? We've been playing it for 2 years. We'll still play it until it gets shown in trial. Stuff the gloves in my pocket so I can take them in. Make sure they're nice and tight. And then we're going to open up my equipment bag. And we're going to touch all the equipment that we're going to be using inside the crime scene as we document everything. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. We'll see y'all later tonight.
Bye.
Okay over there? Is the victim at the hospital? Someone shot there. Alright, do you need us to take pictures of the, is it domestic related? She's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. How about with this? Veteran crisis hotline phone, but they have a female veteran communication. She's the worst same reason. Detective 12, check someone else. Also still staying for time? No? Offender in custody? Please send forward. Anyone else close by this person, let me know. First time, 10-4.